come up and do a workshop for us at the convention. And this is what was captured. This was the very first night that we actually had our thermal out in the field.
Yeah.
And this is down in a ravine. There is no moon. The moon is a new moon and is below the horizon too. So there's
so
that red
heat
source. That's the
signature.
heat signature.
Yeah, it looks like it's
Now, if you watch it, you can almost see something moving hand to mouth in the creek,
What was crazy about this?
and then it walks away.
oh Lord, that's
that,
cool.
That was the reaction right there.
Welcome to Creepalachia. We have the experts finally in the building of the paranormal. Well, paranormal-ish, but also evidentiary, UFO, tech world, all of those things with Joe and Ron from Wild and Weird, West Virginia. Y'all have been doing this for quite some time. Is it 2018? Is that correct when the show started?
The show started, Wild and Weird Radio started in 2020, but the research aspect started for Ron decades ago. And for me, it was in the early 2000s.
Yeah. Awesome. Because I'll tell everyone up front, I have no clue what I'm talking about. I make jokes and I'm like, ooh, I love talking about ghosts, but these guys are the scientists behind, the phenomena out there. So it's going to be a very fun show. Don't know how long it's going to be. Get comfortable, put on your tinfoil hats, and let's get into you first, Joe. So, give me some background on you. How did you first start getting into this stuff?
Oh man. So years and years ago, it goes all the way back to my childhood. I had a grandmother who was very interested in this stuff, and we sat around the TV and we watched it all the time on syndication, the same old story of In Search of and Sightings and things like that. But then we would go out in the woods and she'd tell me stories. She'd tell us about all these different things, me and my cousins. And it was really awesome. I had a very unique childhood experience because of that, because of her interest in that, as well as, the native medicine and things like that. So we were always aware that there were things around us at all times. And I also grew up, around church people, but then eventually, started going to church in my teen years. I became a minister and went in the military. So there was always this awareness of the unseen, right? Fast forward 2001, September of 2001, I had a sighting of something that I can't explain. And the only thing that I can really chalk it up to is a Bigfoot-like entity or Bigfoot creature, right? So the sighting was, it was relatively brief. I walked up on these things. I'm giving you the Campbell's condensed.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, spread it out as far as you want. I love Bigfoot.
It's in my normal hunting area where I'd always go to do squirrel hunting, deer hunting, things like that. And I'm going out scouting early, just checking for sign, because it's where I live. It's just little under a mile from my house. And there was a clear cut on the mountain behind us. So we live on a mountain. You go up and over the ridgeline. The next mountain over is clear cut. And if you've ever been in West Virginia or even out in the Pacific Northwest, clear cutting is done in quarters. So that way you can kind of manage the erosion. And each stage of this mountain was at different levels of growth, right? So I come up on these things. I'm in a thicket of mountain laurels, and I think I see a bear. And it's not a bear. I realize real quick it's not a bear. It's this thing. Now as a dad having a kid, this thing's playing out in the opening. And I'm like, what is happening? What am I seeing? What in the world? And I look up above them and there's two more. There's a big one and then one that's just really big. I know those are very, very scientific measurements there.
That's perfect.
But
it's like a dash or a pinch. Yeah, I got you. I'm with you.
So I see those, and then the wind shifts. I feel the wind hit me in the back. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm made now. Hopefully. And this is the butthole pucker moment.
Right.
Right. because now I'll go from observing these things to now they're going to know I'm here.
Right.
So the big one just stands up and it turns. I only see it from behind. And I see it do one of these kind of motions, and I can kind of see like an ear and sort of an outline part of the head because I'm fairly close. And this thing gets up, starts moving. The little one moves towards it. The other big one moves towards it, and they just walk off into the woods. And I stayed where I was at and did not move until I could not see or hear anything from them anymore. And after that, I took off. I went back home. I did not go back to that area until the following December when there was snow on the ground. All the leaves were off, and I was going to be able to see clearly everything that was coming and going.
What year was this?
2001.
Ooh, okay. Excellent. So you got bit by the bug.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then.
And, we'd go out. I went out with friends all through my college years where we would go out west and go hiking in Yosemite and some of these other big like Glacier and places like that. Mm-hmm. And I was quietly, looking at everything else other than just the hiking trails we were doing.
Sure. So, yeah. That's great.
But I didn't talk about it much with the military because I had a top secret security clearance. I wasn't going and talking about it with church people because I was in a ministerial role. And you don't want to be labeled as the crazy person because that ministerial role will come to an end abruptly. Sure. So it wasn't until I met Ron and we were really working together at the time. And we were sharing stories back and forth. And I finally just said, well, you know what, man, I had a weird experience and I told him about this. And, then he started sharing some of the other strange encounters that he had. And you fast forward several years into the future to 2017. We started Wild and Weird West Virginia. Mm-hmm. And that was at the end of 2017. It was like November, December.
Right.
And then we kicked off with Wild and Weird Radio in 2020.
That's awesome. Let's get into you, Ron. Where do you come from, my friend?
I come from Sissonville, West Virginia is where I come from.
Nice.
And it's a very, very small town. I'm actually descended from the founders of that town. So
really,
it's interesting. Yeah.
That's a good time. Growing up, how did you find yourself interested in this type of stuff?
All started with a weird experience, UFO sighting, mid 70s. And again, one of those short versions of a very long story is we were coming home from visiting some relatives. And it was me, my mom, my dad. I believe it was my aunt and uncle and their kid. It was a big station wagon. And there was this strange light in the sky. And Dad pulls off the road, looks at it, and everybody's like, that's a helicopter. There's no sound. He doesn't hear a sound, And I remember this just as well as sitting right here. And he turns, they're like, well, what is it? And he turns, he's like, I don't know, UFO, flying saucer, something like that. And he never really used those words. He was a Navy guy. He didn't go down those roads. He wasn't into sci-fi, any of that stuff. And that didn't really register until years later when I thought about, remembered this whole story. But what happens is we get home. It's darker. We get home and we lived with my grandparents at the time. So we get home and they're like, well, where you been? They're freaking out. We've been gone for a bit. And my grandma starts, trying to decipher the whole thing, saying, was God getting ready to destroy the world? She's like, it's fire in the sky. And that's before the book.
Just wide open. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. It was really funny. But here's what Mom does. She's like, okay, that's enough, and puts me to bed. Right. So, I know the adults are in there talking, but I go to bed. I don't think anything about this. And you would think, that's something that you would think about consciously, but no, I don't. And I actually turned out to be very afraid of ghosts and all that stuff. And what's really funny is I start having this dream, and I start having these dreams about helicopters and hot air balloons and just all these weird things with people coming out of them and landing in the front yard, things like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, recurring dreams. And then once I get a little bit older, I start having the recurring dream about this light in the sky, and we're pulling off the road. It's after church. We're pulling off the road and we're watching the light in the sky. I'm like, oh, just a dream, nothing. I got into psychic research. That was my whole thing. I wanted to know the mechanism behind this stuff. There were so many people who are labeling this stuff a cult, it's evil. It's all that stuff. Right. And, it was science to me. It's just something that we don't understand. So, I kind of got into looking for those things that were kind of scary to me as a kid, ghosts, and you're trying to understand psychic phenomena. So, I mean, I went so far as to literally make my own deck of Zener cards and test students at lunch in my junior
What kind of cards?
Zener cards.
What
That's
is
your
it?
psychic testing cards.
Okay.
Did you ever see Ghostbusters?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I've seen
Zener cards.
but
The cards that Bill Murray was having the guys
When he
go
shocks
through.
people,
gotcha.
those are Zener cards. That's a real
Okay.
thing. That's
And
a
we
real
even hook
psychic
people up to the
test.
batteries.
No, we don't.
Nice.
We could.
Let's go.
And there's actually something to that. But no, I actually did that, and I tested people, and this was normal to me, and I would hear the people telling me these stories about their ghost sightings and all that, and I was collecting data at the time. And then I got into out of body experience research. Okay. Astral travel, as they like to call it, the occult world, things like that. And, I started experimenting with it. That lucid dreaming, consciousness control.
Yeah.
Well, that led to some interesting experiences. After a while, I started to see things in the out of body state. All right.
Mhm.
And they were mostly shadowy figures at first, and then they would turn into this or that. And, there was symbols. There was always these weird symbols involved, things like that. Well, if you got to remember now, around the 1990s, it was for whatever reason, alien abduction stories made the news. And I started watching some of that stuff. I'm like, this is nonsense. These are people are remembering out of body experiences. They're misinterpreting out of body experiences. I have logs of this, right? Because I would record every one of these things, and I still have those books. And I remember reading a couple of books. I got into it. I remember the first time I picked up, what was it? Communion, I think it was. And I read the first couple. I was like, he's just misinterpreting all this. I threw that book across the room. Okay. It's like, this is wrong. You think you know everything. That's the funny thing. You don't know anything. So there was something that happened in one of the experiences. And I'm like, you know what? I got to know a little bit more about this. And that was about the time that the Roper poll came out. 3.2 million people may have been abducted, and I'm looking at the list, and it said, yeah, this does sound like out of body experience stuff. So I'm like, all right, let's look into it. So I got the book by John Mike, Abduction, read that. And I read Secret Life by, I think that was David Jacobs, I think is who did that. And there's these lists in one of those books, and it talks about, how these people kind of had these experiences. It's almost like a checklist. And I checked off just about everything there except for one. There was one. It was a misplaced or misremembered memory or something like that. I'm like, only thing I can think of is that weird recurring dream I had where we're going to, church and coming from home from church and pulling off the road. So I just like, what the heck? I went and asked my mom. She's like, oh, that didn't happen at church. That happened at, and she tells me where it's at. And at that point, I remembered. And I'm like, all right, so now I got to follow the data, which has literally become our mantra at this point. And that's where it started. I didn't want to follow that data because I don't like that. I don't believe this. Remember at the time, I'm like, all right, we got to test this. So I started what basically today they consider CE5s. I didn't call it that because there wasn't anything like that.
And we still don't call it that to this day.
It's a contact protocol. And what I did is I started like kind of meditating. That's all it is. It's deep meditation. And I wrote it down in my log before I started this. It's a start meditation, July, whatever it was. Just for 1 week. A start contact protocol, phase 1 or something like that's what it says. I never made it to phase 2. Because at the end of phase 1, the last couple of days, I decided to go out in the field and I mowed this big circle in the lower field. Nobody was happy about that. But what happens next is on I think it was the next Monday, I got a call from my cousin, and she's like, you got to come up here. Dad found something in the field. I'm like, what is it? She's like, you just got to come up here. So go up there, and there's a 50-foot circle in that field. It's not just one, it's 4 circles. It's a circle with concentric rings that go down into 4.
Crop circle?
Ooh.
Not per se,
Okay.
but yes, but not per se. It's not like they're not laying down.
Right.
It's kind of like the earth itself is almost scorched in those areas.
Mm.
And it's wild, man. It was weird. And I went back and I looked at my log, several years later when I was looking at my data, and I'm like, this happened on the very last day of that experience. And at that point I knew there was no denying this. There's some kind of intelligent factor going on here.
Mm-hmm.
There's just too much stuff going on. And I walked away from it because you got to figure out where this fits in. I was raised a Christian, God, the whole thing. And
it freak you out?
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. This is what they go with the existential, realization, this threat to your being, your belief systems. And you have to figure out where that fits in. And I wanted to, up to that time, I really thought, I want to research this. I want to write a book about this at some point. And I thought, at this point, I'm compromised. No one will ever believe anything I say. And honestly, it wasn't until years later when I met Stan Gordon who told me it doesn't matter. It happened. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's kind of, again, we are where we are because of those experiences. Mm-hmm. And, that story, if you watch Paranormal Horizons, man, that story just continued in Paranormal Horizons.
Mm.
It was wild.
That's beautiful. How long before you picked it back up?
Oh gosh. I'm going to say somewhere's around 8 to 10 years, something like that. I've kind of weaned myself back into it with Ghost Watch. They kind of wanted me to head up this paranormal research group. And I'm like, well, if we do it, I want to do it with equipment. I want to do it to really try to figure out what's at the heart of this. Because I'd already figured, back when I was doing out of body stuff, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could make something right now that can induce these. If you're crazy, I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you can, because all we need is something to, induce the right brainwaves. Well, we know that to be true now, of course, but, yeah, so I went into it with just trying to get as much equipment as we could, tri-field meters, the K2 had came out back then, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Paranormal TV started up at around that same time. You had Ghost Hunters start up. And it was like, well, this is actually starting to be something. People, which was good and bad. But you learned real quick what was real and what wasn't.
Sure.
So we ran into a lot of things, but the number one evidence we ever saw out there, honestly, was EVPs.
Heck yeah, which we're going to get into. I'm curious how did you all cross paths in this crazy world?
Oh man. So I was working as a chef for one of the largest global organizations out there right now in auto manufacturing. And I was going around and essentially traveling with their executive staff, preparing their meals, going out and doing stuff like that. And then whenever I was home, I would go out and check on local stuff and make sure that the kitchens that were there were up to snuff for the entity.
Mm-hmm.
And
was he like Gordon Ramsay, like cracking down on people, or
not with the people that were in the kitchens? Right. More so with the vendors. Like I would bust their skulls.
Heck yeah.
For not holding up to health standards or quality standards.
Mm-hmm.
Because we paid those entities quite a bit of revenue to supply a service. And so I was over management of those vendors.
Nice.
Now, whenever I was home, I had an aquarium. And Ron was working at the only local shop that had saltwater stuff. So I was always going in there and buying fish and things of that nature for my aquarium. And then when I left the big mega company, I started my own little catering deal. And because I had a specialty in doing like large mass corporate style caterings, I picked up a lot of your local power plants and things of that nature. Well, they were all centrally located around where he was, and I would need stuff. So I'd go in and be like, hey, I got like a bunch of leftovers. I'm getting ready to go drop them off over here at the homeless shelter. I was like, you want to grab anything before I run it over? And so he's like, oh yeah, man, absolutely. So we'd make him a couple plates, and then I'd go in there, buy some fish or buy some supplies that I needed and get in the vehicle and go back. And it turned into one day I did a catering there on a Tuesday, which was delivery day.
Right.
And I saw how many people were in there, and he was overwhelmed. And I knew enough about the fish and some of the other stuff to kind of help mitigate the crisis. And I started going in there about every Tuesday and Thursday, which were the delivery days, and helping out just for free. And then it turned into me doing that as like a part-time gig.
Dude, this is great.
And me and Ron were sitting there. We had people would talk about all, like, you're in the middle of work, right? So now you don't have anybody in the shop. So you start talking weird stuff. And then
you told me, the first thing that you told me was about that pterodactyl.
That's
thing.
right. That weird pterodactyl thing.
Yeah.
Weird. Okay.
Yeah,
gotta ask.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I'm like in 8th, 9th grade, and I lived in Hernshaw, West Virginia. And I had to walk across a large bridge every day to get to my bus stop. Well, I see gray herons all the time. I know what those look like. This was about 2 to 3 times that size, and it flew overhead, like the distance from me to the ceiling, and it was weird. Now, I was like, that there's no way I just saw a pterodactyl. Logically, this makes absolutely no sense. Even then, in 9th grade or so, I was like, no, I'm hallucinating, but like I saw it, So I told Ron about that because we were talking about some stuff, and he brought that up. I was like, well, okay, now I've seen something weird, and I was like, it kind of looked like a pterodactyl. I don't know what else to call it. So that opened up the weird talk, and then we started sharing stories about other weird things that you couldn't explain. And do I think that was a pterodactyl? Absolutely not. Do I think I saw something weird? Yes. But the closest thing I could put together in my head at the time was some kind of a pterodactyl or, something of the like.
That's fun.
That weird Mothman thing, it kind of validated
it did.
It did. Your experience when I told you about that.
Because this thing didn't flap. Like the thing that I saw did not flap at all. And the thing that he saw also didn't flap.
Tell me your Mothman thing. What are we talking here, Ron?
Okay. So that was something I kept quiet for 25 years.
Yeah, it was like almost
that.
25 years.
Because this was something that me and my wife both had seen. And we first documented it on Small Town Monsters.
Yeah.
That was on, what was it? Which one was it? Legacy?
It was Mothman Legacy.
Yeah. And
you're missing the most critical part of the story, though, is the car. The car. You got to tell them about the car.
The car?
Yeah. It's a special car, man.
You mean the Fiero?
The Fiero.
Oh, nice.
Okay. So yeah, I'll set the scene up for you.
Okay. Yeah.
We're coming from home, my home out Sissonville.
And this is a single car dirt lane. Okay.
It is
single lane dirt road.
It's chip road.
Yeah.
Chip road.
Mm-hmm.
It's very chipped. And a lot of curves. That's important.
Nice.
They're butt kissing turns.
They really are.
They're not like little, we're going to do this.
When you hear country roads?
Yeah.
That's it.
You have to hit your brakes, almost come to a full stop to make some of these turns.
They drove on that road before they wrote the song.
They drove on that road before they wrote the song.
Got it.
So we were coming home, going back, and there's a cemetery on one side. And we were driving past the cemetery, me and my wife. And, she's my girlfriend at the time, but we were driving past the cemetery. And right at the foot of the cemetery, we smelled what smelled like roses. And, like, what in the world, And so we come around the curve, and when we come around the curve of this cemetery, in the middle of the road, there's this thing. Headlights catch it. And it's like it's bent down in the road. And the first thought goes into your head. It's like, man, that's a big bird, but then you looking at it, it's like, that's not a bird. And then it stands up. And when it stands up, I mean, this thing was massive. It was tall. It was kind of skinny. And then it puts said at the time looked like arms, wings. I don't know what they were. They didn't really have a detailed form. Go straight out. So this thing's in like a T pose for like a second. And then both of those just go straight down. And when it goes straight down, it's all in one instant. It just rockets straight up. We're sitting there, the windows are down, and you can just hear all the trees, like twigs and whatnot, just falling all around us. We look at each other, and at that point, I just hit the gas. And I think we were probably about a quarter mile away before I let up on that. I don't know how I kept from killing us, I'll be honest with you. But we started like going over what we saw. Like, did you see, and we described it. And the weird thing is, what I had seen and she'd seen is about the same. Our stories lined up. I saw more of at the base of this thing, I couldn't see feet. And it looked almost like you could almost see through it, but it was like phased, almost like when you look at a hot road.
Mm-hmm.
You see the heat distortion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it looked like through this thing. And I didn't say anything. We didn't talk about it the next day. We didn't nothing. We didn't talk about this thing. And years later, we were at a show, and I'm showing some of the art, and Linda Sigmund walks by. Didn't even know who she was. Dumb. Linda Sigmund walks by, picks up the one of the paintings and says, "You've seen it." And I'm like, "Seen something. Don't know what it was." And she's like, "Oh, you've seen it." I'm like, "Mothman? No, didn't have red eyes." She's like, "Oh, they don't always have red eyes." I'm like, "What?" So at that point, I got into actually looking into some of these stories, and no, it didn't always have red eyes. And Mothman's just a name we gave it, here.
Yeah.
But these are whatever they are. I'd say it's more like flying humanoids. Let's just call it for what it is. It's either a flying humanoid or a flying anomaly, human-like anomaly. Mm-hmm. So I never really called it Mothman. I called it Mothman-like. And to this day, I don't know what that was, but yeah, I kept that quiet for like over 20 some years. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to tell it. So I told the stories like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. Told it and figured everybody would be like, "Oh, you're crazy." We had just the opposite. We had people coming up telling us their stories, their accounts.
Right. And telling them that how that story validated their encounter.
That's what it was about. And I was like, that's what it is. It's about these validating stories. And again, that's our driving force that kind of pushed where we are right now. It's more about validation than proof. I think that's the mission really.
We can get proof all day long.
Yeah.
Proof, we can measure it on multiple sensors, but trying to convince somebody who's never had one of these encounters that all of this sensor data is being triggered by a UFO or some kind of an unseen force it's still going to be difficult at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you got the opposite, which is me, which I believe everything. Like, it's like proof, schmoof, but that's why I need people like you in my life. So I'm glad you're here to kind of walk me through these things.
There's that balance,
Sure. Yeah.
You want to see everything. There's people like, you want to see the magic in the world.
Right.
But when you're doing this research at the heart of it, Ron had mentioned earlier about belief systems. Mm-hmm. We have to check our belief systems at the door when we're conducting the research, because otherwise it's going to taint what you're working on. It's going to put a bent in all of your findings, because every finding will initially be, "Oh, this is evidence that, this." No, mm-hmm. You have to look at the data raw first. Collect the data. Yeah, you're out there doing Bigfoot research. That does not mean that all of the data that you are collecting is Bigfoot related. We have a pie chart that proves that about 80% of the time when we were going out doing Bigfoot research, we were collecting UAP, UFO data. Nothing, not a trace element of Bigfoot or Bigfoot-like entities. It was something completely different.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're out there and you're setting in a field, and all of a sudden you're in a location where you've done Bigfoot research in the past, you've collected evidence before in the past, and you're sitting there and you start hearing this low hum that sounds like you're surrounded by 10,000 bees, but there's not a single insect in sight. And you think about it, you catch yourself. You're like, I'm going to look around. I'm going to see, and you use your camera and you zoom it in. You find that there is literally nothing. making that noise and it's just coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
But you're not the only one hearing it. You've got 4 other people who are hearing this same phenomena. Then you start getting other elements. You start looking like, we got to turn everything else on now. Turn it all on. See what's happening. That's what's happening a lot of the times. We're going out looking for Bigfoot, and then all of a sudden we capture some of the most phenomenal UFO data that we've ever seen.
Yeah, you adapt to your experience, kind of. Yeah. You're like,
so you have to keep those elements like at the door. You've got to go into it almost brand new, like mentally brand new, and it takes some training to do that. You've got to be able to be like, well, this happened, so then this, because our thought process as humans, we're very much if this then. People, like it's the way society operates, the way we're trained and through school and everything. It's if this then all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get away from that, because if you're out there looking for Bigfoot and you have a UFO show up, the Bigfoot isn't piloting the UFO. Something is.
Man, that would be cool though.
It would be cool. It would be awesome to see something like that. And,
right.
And there have been reports up in the Chestnut Ridge of these, and we call them again Bigfoot-like. You'll hear that kind of phrasing a lot with this. Something like, right, of these Bigfoot-like encounters along the Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania, right across the border from Morgantown. And there were this rash of UFO sightings that were also in conjunction with Bigfoot sightings, and the Bigfoots were like floating and levitating, and their eyes were glowing. They had really, really ridiculously, cartoonishly long arms. They had strange features, like they were gaunt, like real, like just kind of skinny and not your typical built like a refrigerator Bigfoot sighting.
Sure.
Other ones, somebody shot one and it kind of did like a weeble wobble. And we heard the same sort of story from
disappear.
Yeah. Or they just disappear.
Mm-hmm.
But that same kind of weeble wobble where like we shot it with a rifle and it just went back and forth like a weeble wobble toy. You hear the exact same thing at the Kelly Hopkinsville goblin invasion in Kentucky, and that they were shooting these things from inside the home, and they would strike it and a metallic sound would ring out and it would just kind of wobble back and forth and then get its bearing back and move. So that is more of the UFO kind of looking phenomena. But it's essential that you kind of just separate the belief systems away, because you can also look at all this stuff through a religious lens. I know so many people who do that.
I was going to ask about that. Are you, and we don't have to get into faith or anything, but are you still
we're fine.
Sure. I mean, I'm down. Like, cause and the only rule on this show is no politics, but religion and faith is so intertwined with this stuff.
It is.
You can't not talk about it.
And that's what we've always said. You can't have this discussion unless you incorporate all the different faiths, not just one, all the different faiths, because you are dealing with something that seems to permeate literal human history, literal human culture all around the world. These are stories that have been told over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, the lens, it's how you interpret this stuff. And it is important that you just step back and look at it objectively. Look at the data. I didn't like what I saw either, but it is what it is. The data doesn't care, as you like to eloquently say there, Joe.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't care. So you just follow it. And if you look at it without those lenses of, it's got to be this because that. Why does it have to be this because that?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a rule that you're imposing on it. That's not a rule that's set. That is a rule that you are imposing, or your elders have taught you to impose on. And you are believing that.
I want it to be true because it's fun. That's
right.
my thing. It's like,
right.
It's a placebo. Yes. But yeah, and all that makes total sense. And there's so many good videos of you all. Like, I mean, we're talking, you all do molds of foot imprints and, really y'all check out this channel. There's so many entertaining, but also informative research videos that y'all have done. But you're in this aquarium, you're saving the turtles, you hear these stories, you finally figure out that you got comfortable enough to realize that you both have had these experiences. When did you start to say, hey, have you ever, did you notice Joe has this very eloquent radio voice? And you're like, you know what? we got to get, or kind of how did that start to form
In a car.
into something more?
On
Yeah.
trips, doing reptile shows.
Yeah, because we own a business called Reptiles That Don't Suck, and
Oh, nice.
yeah, so we bred exotic animals, and we would take them and sell those to the pet industry, and to individuals directly, right? So we would drive from here to Chicago, or here to Lexington, Kentucky, or here to the Carolinas.
A lot of times to
And-
Kentucky.
A lot of times to Kentucky. Kentucky's basically our second home,
Mhm.
and even now doing the cryptid stuff, but.
Now, you started this after the aquarium or
No,
during the
we were
aquarium?
actually there at the same time. Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
This happened at the same time.
Got it.
And so we would be on the road, and we were sitting there like, man, we should record these conversations, because we got into some really hairy conversations, questioning faith, questioning the aspects of the phenomena
Time.
and how they correlate, time and how
All of
time
it.
operates.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got into some very deep conversations.
And then one day we ended up,
we did the Facebook Lives, is what we did.
we did those.
Oh,
When-
cool.
When
Yeah.
Facebook Live first started,
Mhm.
we did this wild and weird West Virginia talk, is how it first started. And we'd stream those, and we'd go over to his house, set up the little mini studio and a green screen, and we'd go at it and have the conversation. Then we met Wayne,
Yep.
and unfortunately Wayne's no longer with us, but he is while we started
Is
Wild
he
and Weird
not,
Radio.
though? Are you sure?
Yeah, I mean he still haunts us
I mean, you know.
periodically.
Let's
That's the thing.
Let's memorialize Wayne. So, what was Wayne's role with the show early on?
Okay, so Wayne, a lot of the time, Wayne was a Bigfoot researcher,
Mhm.
pure to the core Bigfoot researcher. That's really all he focused on. He didn't look at paranormal research. He didn't look at UFO research. It was not his thing.
And what was his last? Do we want to say his
Wayne
last?
Barnes.
Wayne.
Yep,
Okay.
Wayne Barnes, one of the most phenomenal charcoal artists that has walked the earth. That's how we met, because we also make art, right?
Mhm.
And we travel around to these conventions and we sell our art to buy equipment to go do the research. We met Wayne because of his incessant heckling of me, because I walk into the room and I'm normally the bigger than life guy, loud and goofy and silly, trying to make people laugh. Well, Wayne immediately was like, target.
Yeah.
And
Pew, friend.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I even told Ron, I said, Ron, I'm either going to kill this man by the end of the day, or we're going to be best friends.
Yep.
And that's what happened. We became best friends, and he was like our brother,
Mm.
and he had really, really, really terrible lung issues, and he contracted COVID and is no longer with us.
He passed away from COVID.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
in
man.
2021.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Or 2022, wasn't it?
It's 2022.
Yeah. So, but he convinced us to start Wild and Weird Radio and start Wild and Weird Con. And we went from there,
He
it
almost made it to
exploded.
Wild and Weird Con.
Almost. The first Wild and Weird Con got canceled by COVID.
Mm.
And we had to postpone it. And then it he came down with it and passed away, and his memorial was held there at Wild and Weird.
Yes, it was.
Oh, well, how nice.
Yeah, he was nuts. His role in the show, though, like who he was the guy that knew nothing about UFOs, knew nothing about the paranormal stuff. He knew a lot about Bigfoot. He taught us a lot about Bigfoot.
Yes.
And then was very quintessential in us in our research with Bigfoot phenomena. But his role in the show was he would ask the questions on the air that the viewer would ask. If we're sitting here, we're having this in-depth discussion, you've got two UFO nerds talking about it, and we're going in depth, and we will side rail and get so far off topic when we're going down this path. And then Wayne will be like, hey, wait,
Mhm.
what?
Time out.
What
Yeah.
what does
Yeah.
that mean?
Yeah.
Explain that. And then so we would go into that and then have the conversation with him back and forth with there. And we miss having that live element
Mm-hmm.
in the show, but we keep that live element now through Wild and Weird Radio Live, where
Which was always what
he
the
wanted to
end
do it
goal
live.
was. Yeah, we always wanted to do. Hey, wouldn't it be fun if we could just include the audience in this somehow?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. And that's kind of what we did.
We finally were able to do
Yeah.
it.
What's cool about it was though to watch him changed because he was just straight up, this is a physical thing, I don't know about this UFO stuff, and he switched over, toward the end there. He was just like, y'all might be right.
You converted him.
There's something to it.
Something to it. He followed the data.
He did.
He was very good about following data and setting belief systems aside. And, that was our number one thing. You've got to do that. To look at this data.
How old was he when he passed?
Oh, it was 51, I think.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Rest in peace, Wayne. Well, thank you for telling me about him. Did you have experience in audio or video, like AV type stuff, before you started firing up the show?
We did. Ron and I were both in different bands. We were both playing and doing that. I also worked for a production studio called Creative Audio, and we did stuff. It was weddings. Back then, there were DJs Unlimited. So obviously we did DJ work. We did video work with weddings and events and things of that nature. And so I was running around slinging cameras. And
so y'all ready? You're just like, we got all the knowledge. We just got to get this stuff on tape.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Cool. So you go with the lives and then you start branching out. When did you start doing the cons?
Oh man, Wild and Weird Con 1 was supposed to have been May of 2020.
And then COVID.
Then COVID happened and cut its legs out from under it. So we did the next one. It was 2021. And it was Wild and Weird Con 2021 in Logan. And then we did 2022. And then we skipped a year.
No, it was 2022. When we came back.
2020. Okay. So 2022, we came back.
Yeah. Because then Wayne.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2022, 2023. And then we got tracked with so many other projects that we moved away from focusing so much on events, because we had Wild and Weird Con, we had Wood Booger Jamboree.
Oh, yeah. The workshop.
We had the workshops. We did Bigfoot work. We still do Bigfoot workshops and paranormal workshops where people can come in and we teach you how to do the thing. And then we're doing the workshops in some of our research areas. So then at the end of the workshop, we go and do the thing. You learn all day long how to use the equipment, all the stuff. And then, I'm a chef, so I feed everybody.
Right.
And
it's like good food.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we go out and we conduct research and we collect all the data and put it together.
That's awesome. You mentioned Wood Booger. I want to get into first before I ask you about Wood Booger. I heard this the other day for the first time ever. That term. But when did you start doing the field stuff? Was that early on where you went out and that was on location, or was that like
actual in the field was 2020?
Okay, so that was instantly.
Yeah, we had a friend of ours from the reptile community, oddly enough. And I was a master naturalist, and with West Virginia DNR, they called in, and he had a strange experience, and we he told us about it like late night, got a hold of us, because that's normally when he would go out doing field herping, and field herping is going out conducting herpetology experiments late at night normally,
which are what?
Reptiles.
Oh, okay.
Herpetology, reptiles, turtles, amphibians. I said turtles, like reptiles aren't turtles aren't reptiles there. But anyway,
I would have not known. I'm like, yeah, sounds good, Joe.
So he called it in. He had a weird experience. He heard this thing rush him and make a noise across from the area where he was at, and like within feet, right? But it was pitch black. It's like 1 a.m. And he had this thing yell at him. And he was like, all right, I'm out of here. He started going back to his vehicle, heard something pursuing him. And when he got in his vehicle, this thing yelled again so loud that he and a witness within the vehicle actually described it was so loud as the windows vibrated in the car. So I was out there the next day and we found footprints, and I tracked the whole pathway where this thing had walked and where it had exited and what it was doing. It collected enough data to kind of surmise what it was doing. And it was targeting the same vernal pool, which is a big pool out in the woods. Have you ever been out hunting and you see a big pool of water out in the middle of the woods? It's like a pond up on a mountain. That's a vernal pool. And it's where all your waters kind of run off and find a low spot. All your salamanders and frogs are going to migrate to that area and have their offspring, right? So it's easy pickings for food. you've got massive amounts of eggs, right? Plus you have the animals themselves. And those eggs are just fat and protein. And they're easy. They're not running away, right?
Sure.
You can just scoop them and shove them down your gullet. Well, this thing was coming into that same area, and I got footprints of it right on the edge of the water, one step into the water, which is where most of the egg masses were, and then going back out towards the ridge, going across the creek and up a ridge. And we cast those prints, and I passed those prints off because we peer review all of our data. We just don't take information in and release it to the public saying, here's what this is. You know,
that's what I do.
We
no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
we take it in. We have people look at it who are experts in the field, and not just like experts in Bigfoot or whatever, but like actual wildlife biologists.
Sure.
And people who are, experts in the stuff that we're like thermal imaging, experts in night vision imaging, things of that nature.
Things you can actually be experts in.
Yeah. Things you can actually be an expert in.
Right.
So
I don't know, Joe, you've got a lot of certifications, bud. We went through about 7 if I'm keeping count.
Yeah. We're getting close.
Yeah.
Getting close.
Keep going. Sorry.
We went and sent it off to some of our friends, Matt Moneymaker and Cliff Barrickman, Finding Bigfoot guys, and had them take a look at it. And we were pretty shocked by their response, because it was like, you think we could do a show on this? Sure. But we released all the stuff out, and we put the film out, and apparently it was like the first of its kind that was like a real-time documentation of a Bigfoot sighting.
Right.
And it was released like in rapid fashion. And it showed a research team that was doing a rapid response to a sighting to collect physical data. And I'm sure there were other people attempting to do that. We were just apparently the first people to record that, release it, show it, put it out there for the public consumption. And really, honestly, we put it out there more so for them to weigh in on. And
yeah, we didn't say what it was.
Yeah, because we didn't say this. We just said we had a report come in, We have track casts that could be
we showed both sides, because some said this could be a bear, this could be this, we showed all sides. So, make up your own mind. It's just the data. So.
Yep.
Man, that's fun. Patterson Gimlin film, real or fake? On the spot.
Oh, man. So we know Bob.
Oh, really? Okay.
We know Bob really well. Bob was responsible for part of our big push into the community and saying when they were traveling places like, oh, we want them West Virginia boys here. Yeah. And so we got into
Bob Gimlin, right?
Yeah. We got into a few of the shows that we're in because of Bob being there.
Sweet.
Bob's a good guy.
Bob is a really good guy. If that was a hoaxed video, Bob was not in on it.
Agreed.
I'll say that.
I'll agree with that.
What they recorded and what I saw did not look the same. I'll say that. It was similar, but I mean, me and you don't look the same either.
Sure.
Right. So there could be that dimorphism that exists, but if it was a hoax, Bob wasn't in on it.
Gotcha. Great answer. What about you, Ron?
I agree with that. I mean, any one of us could be duped into doing something, couldn't we? And not know it. So if it was a hoax, I'm with you, man. He didn't know. He was doing what he did.
Yeah.
I've heard some of these things, and it's just like, no.
Yeah.
If you sit and talk to that man, you're not going to think that.
Love it. Love it. I've watched some interviews with him, and it's really well put together, and thoroughly enjoy it. There's a few long form interviews out there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Highly recommend. So what was the response early on when you all started? Because I imagine same reason I do this show. Like, we're not doing this to, get mega rich and all these different things. We're doing it because we love it.
Right.
Did you start to see like-minded people kind of messaging like, oh man, I love what you're doing? Like, what kind of response did you start to receive as you put yourselves out there?
We saw that kind of response from everybody that wasn't in West Virginia.
Agreed.
Gotcha.
I'll agree with that. There's only a handful in West Virginia who got behind us and was like, look, these guys know what they're talking about. That's a fact. And then again, it's like that though. We did that with the reptile stuff.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We had more people out of state who gravitate toward us than we do people in state.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I couldn't tell you why that is. I no clue, but we've seen a shift now. I mean, it's definitely
it's
changed
taken
now.
it's taken
But
years,
it's taken years. Yeah.
but
And a lot of data
and a series.
and a series.
It took a full scale production series.
It really did.
to finally get some locals. Now, Mothman Festival is totally different animal because you got a bunch of locals that gravitate to you there, right?
Sure.
But with in general, with the research and stuff, man, for whatever reason, people in West Virginia just did not, they wanted to chase after other stuff that was
Well,
something.
I think one of the big problems is we do so much,
Mhm.
Yeah, we do.
and that's when people used to ask, what do you guys do? Who are you? Blah, blah. Well, you'll hear us say it sometimes. We're West Virginia's paranormals, ambassadors of the paranormal. We call ourselves that a lot. And that's the simple answer because that's what we do. Our job is to get out there, get people talking about their experiences, so we can, again, do this validation process with them. It's a form of healing, honestly, because
It is.
we've had people come to our table and cry because
And-
someone believed them. Well, no
Mhm.
one believed me. Everyone thought I was crazy.
And we've also had people that have dealt with PTSD from their experience that we've worked with them through their whole process and helped them get to the point where now one of them is actually one of the best members of our research team.
Mm.
She is actively investigating all the time, but she had PTSD from her experience. That's how deeply it affected her.
Oh yeah. Imagine like Travis Walton.
Yeah.
There's a good
Imagine
example.
being him and really going through this thing and then like, what? Someone telling you that you didn't,
Yeah.
I could only imagine what kind of trauma that
And
causes.
that's a good point. When people hear about these people, they're larger than life, right? They're on TV. They're, I don't know about that. If you sit again, like Bob, I've sat beside Travis. I've had breakfast with Travis.
Yeah.
Okay. And I've got to talk to him one-on-one, just like you and me, off the record. And I can tell you, you might have questions about that, but when you sit and talk to these people, they experience something.
Mhm.
They experienced something. He has absolutely experienced something, in my opinion. I don't know what that was, but he experienced something.
That's my thing is, who am I to judge? I'm just going to, regardless, of course, I'm sure you've ran into some people where you're like, I don't know.
You get that.
You get that.
But you'll have that with anything. But majority of people are genuine and aren't BSers, in my opinion. And they went through something. So I look at things the same way.
Yeah.
For sure.
You can definitely tell.
Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely tales with people who have experienced stuff. And you can tell that they're just like very nervous, they don't know how you're going to react, because their family may have laughed at them. And a lot of them, that's exactly what happens. Families, spouses, it causes a lot of issues, these experiences.
We've met people who it ended their marriages.
Yeah, this happens. I mean, it literally happens.
60% of the population.
Hey, maybe
Right?
they're
But
they're experiencers. I mean, I don't know, but I think that was one of the biggest issues with Wild and Weird when it took off, is because they're like, well, what are they? They're doing art. They're doing, they're showing up in these documentaries. They're showing up in these shows. Small Town Monster was the first to give us that that door to say, look, come on and tell your story. And then they kept having us come back and, do more and more, Dark Sky. That was when we got into the UFO stuff.
Yeah.
And so, people started realizing, wait, they're more than just podcasters. They're more than artists. What is going on here?
Yeah. Cause a lot of the podcasts, like they're podcasts,
Sure.
Like you're a different animal and you kind of probably feel this from the same point of view, is that, you have a podcast, but this podcast is not the only thing you do.
Oh yeah.
You have a full scale production run for the movie stuff and films, and then you're doing this as well.
My goal is to shut my brain down to where I just stop moving. That's and I haven't made it there yet, thankfully. But but as far as the response goes, it's fun to have this conversation because mine's kind of inverted. Like the local following has been really, really kind and accepting, and And it's like branching out's my thing of like finding ways to connect with, Pennsylvania in the same way and Virginia in the same way and Tennessee, like trying to bring myself across Appalachia. So it's fun to hear you all talk about your experience, but it's a lot of similarities.
It was everybody away from West Virginia in Appalachia still for the most part, but one outside of the state borders, it's really where we found most of our people. And it's strange, but like Ron said, I think it is because we did so much stuff, and there's this West Virginia specifically has a very competitive mindset, right? We've seen this told throughout history. People start something and then somebody else starts something and tries to, then they're in a invisible race that nobody else is paying attention to, only with each other.
Don't you hate that? It's the para wars.
Yeah, the para wars.
Well, I had that. You was talking about videography and weddings.
Yeah.
Same thing. I'm like, why ain't we friends?
Right.
Reptiles.
This table is literally big enough for everyone to sit at and have a plate in front of them.
I mean, we knew this with reptiles.
We did, because we were trained.
Yeah, we were battle hardened by the time we got into this. We knew how this was going to go.
In the reptile community, you want to talk about true crime craziness, man? There's murders, there's arson, like people's facilities being burnt down and murdered, and over a snake.
Yeah, dude, it's weird.
And that's
I'll have to get some of these cliff notes after the show.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
Okay.
and so like we dealt with real criminal stuff from that aspect of the community, and knowing how harsh and how violent and crazy the people can be, that when we started to experience any kind of blowback here in paranormal community in West Virginia, we're just like, okay.
Yeah. Worst case, they put some mean sticker on your car or something, but people are genuinely not really violent in the paranormal world.
Like
I mean, everyone's just very kind people that I've met anyway.
Yeah.
No, and I'll be honest with you, when they meet us, totally different. Like it's like they literally, almost everyone who does meet us, they become a follower of the show, or they'll catch up with us years later and be like, I had this weird experience. I thought you guys, I'll reach out to you guys because I don't know anyone else that would take me serious, and that's how it works. So it does help. I mean, it helps to actually sit down and talk to these people.
And as disclosure is slowly happening, I think it's opening a lot of people's eyes of like, you know what? David Fravor is kind of a very competent person. And when I hear him talk about his UFO experience, the Tic Tac UFO, which I'm sure y'all have.
We actually have some Tic Tac that we can show you.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, we're going to get into some tapes.
Yeah, we sure do.
I wanted to ask you about, so was you all into Bob Lazar before?
Yeah.
I mean, he became like huge.
Dennis.
Oh, was that his name?
That was his alias he used when he came out.
Oh, nice. Okay.
That was his those old classic shadow retro unsolved mystery-esque, where they protecting the identity of the witness, but they have the witness on camera. They're just blacked out and shadowed. Dennis is what he came out
about
as.
Dennis from Sightings. That's how long ago that was. And I remember there was something about Bob that at the time no one really knew much about that guy, right? And when he came out, talking about Area 51, all this stuff. Well, there was some other articles before that about this guy who had some kind of jet racing car or something, and me and my buddy were reading it. It was in some kind of racing magazine.
So you saw the original article?
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard him talk about it. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that article, and we put two and two together. I was like, I bet that's that same guy. It was. So, it was at that point I kind of figured out, we should probably go with these hunches from time to time. And boy, they haven't failed us yet, have they?
No, they haven't.
It continues.
And what's interesting too about the whole Bob Lazar thing, Bob actually makes some of our glow in the dark paint that we use on our sculptures and in the art.
Oh, really?
Yeah, United Nuclear. Yeah, man. That's a good place. Good place.
Man, that's cool. Yeah. Well, I hear him talk, and the thing about him is his stories never changed.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always been the same story. And it seems like, there's a lot of conviction in what he's saying. And some of the things, like the way they scanned into the place. There's this hand scanner that they ended up finding later that actually existed, and a few different things. I'm like, I don't know, man. There's something to this, but mine is David Fravor. Like,
oh yeah,
when I hear him, and he doesn't, it's a lot like he follows the data. Like, the dude's a fighter pilot. He can't follow. Yeah, he can't follow anything else.
Yeah, Commander Fravor and Ryan Graves.
Yeah, Ryan Graves is a good one too.
Their two accounts, again, they're brothers, military, they're veterans, and I can attest those guys are some of the most solid people just because of positions that they held. I don't know those guys, but because of where they were, being someone who was military and knowing their rank, knowing their positions and their what they were doing, those folks are trusted with our nation's safety. And not just in the sense that, every enlisted personnel is entrusted with the safety of American people, blah, 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 right?
No, they give you a $70 million airplane.
Right.
To
These
fly
guys
around.
were literally entrusted with collecting sensitive data.
Yeah.
And then executing commands on that have massive implications, right? That's who these guys were. And now they're in civilian world, but man, their accounts stand up, and I'm not.
Oh yeah,
you can't take it from them.
Definitely. So there's Rogan has a good one, David Fravor, and Lex Friedman has a good one. I highly suggest if you listen to anything, if you're a skeptic out there, that's fine. But these are very hard to skepticize on. I guess that's the word. So yeah. All right. Before we get into the experience, did you also get in the mail your official removal from ministry? Did they say, "Oh, okay, Joe, yeah, now that you're officially public"?
No,
you did that yourself, didn't you?
I did that myself. I think.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, we it was that. Yeah.
Well, the
I can't get into
no. I mean, listen.
Like I'm not saying that I worked on a UFO or not. I didn't do that. I'm just saying like that. But yeah, from the military and whatnot.
Well, I want to talk about. Let's talk about West Virginia for a second. So a lot of this stuff, for a lot of people, it's a very conservative state. We always have been, and but also I believe it's a very diverse in culture, like a lot more than you really realize, things like that. But, typically a lot of this stuff gets put into a barrel and then it's labeled as the devil.
Demons.
Yeah. Demons.
Yeah.
So, and that's fine if you believe that, no judgments
I'm going to tell you why it's not.
Okay. No, tell me.
So,
I try not to, faith's so personal for
is.
people, and
Faith is personal. And their faith isn't what I'm getting ready to touch.
Sure.
But what I am going to touch on here is the fact that these beliefs are derived from scrolls. And unless you go back and you look at the source material and who wrote the scrolls, the sociological aspects of that time, the anthropological aspects of that time, as well as what they were literally saying, understanding the language at that point. So you're going to have to brush up on your ancient Aramaic. You're going to have to
which doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. You're going to have to brush up on your Hindi. You're going to have to brush up on Sanskrit and all these other languages to be able to go in and look at what they were talking about. Right.
Mm-hmm. Because it's all translations.
It's right. We have we have Hebrew. That's as far back as we can really get.
Mm-hmm.
We have some, as far as some of these religious things, and you've got Babylonian and things of that nature as well. But you're talking languages and societies that are millennia old, right?
Mm.
Understanding their worldview first before you try to take something from today and apply it to that.
Sure.
Because they're using words that they have, right? The lexicon has grown substantially. Now, demons is not anything that you're going to find mention of anywhere through scriptures. The closest you'll get is jinn, right? But that's still not a demon. You have
Is that Ginn?
J.
Oh, Jinn. Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes there's a D in front of it with a, the DJINN.
Right.
So, but it anyway.
It's a drone that I fly. DJI.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. DJI.
Never mind.
That's right.
Okay. That's
right.
stupid.
Yeah.
That was a stupid joke.
So the drones
Drones are demons. That's it. The connection's made.
Yep. We solved it. Look at that.
But still, we can't look at this stuff and say it's demons. One, why, if we're going to talk about UFOs, why would a demon need a UFO? If we're looking at this thing in the same respects as Christianity, for example, why would a supernatural entity need a UFO? Why would a devil need a UFO? If we're going to look at the Bigfoot phenomena and go in and talk about the Nephilim or Nephilim, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to look at that and draw and contrast, then you have to also look at the scriptures where it says, yeah, David and his mighty men killed them all. So what seed was there left to come forward from?
Right.
And if you look at, because the flood didn't kill them all, we have this, the stories of Goliath and his brothers, but then you have David and his mighty men. There's a whole section of the Old Testament that's dedicated to them hunting them down and destroying them.
Sure.
And so once the last one was destroyed, there was, big feasts and parties. But if that was the case, then what seed did they come from?
That's true.
And if you're saying it's Nephilim, if you're trying to say that the aliens are Nephilim, okay, fine. We'll get into the nitty gritty of Nephilim. Nephil means to fall. Elim, ones, like exalted ones. So it's fallen exalted ones. That's what the word means in its broken down sense. So are the Nephilim that you talk about hybrids of angels and man, or the fallen angels and man? Or if we're going to get down to the Jewish aspect, the Hebrew aspect, the Nephilim were just the fallen.
Man, you need to be on. We're about to do a religious episode where I'm having a guy that's over a large district of the United Methodist Church come in, and he's a really good friend. And we're going to walk through some of the hardest questions that people could possibly think of when it comes to religion. And I think it's going to be a great conversation. I think it's a lot of things that people in West Virginia are afraid to ask their grandparents because they don't want them to be mad at them.
Yeah.
I mean,
we get that.
You know what I mean?
Totally get that. And, I'll follow with you on this. If this is a demon that we've been following all these years, if this is demonic in any way that has infiltrated our lives, my life, then it's doing a really bad job. Because, from what I understand, they're supposed to lead people away from God, right? Yeah. Or Creator.
See, that's the thing.
This doesn't.
Yeah.
This doesn't. If you follow the data without belief, and then you look at those faith that you did actually follow and believe in and still do, this only strengthens it. Now you've only put labels to it. See, that's what you start seeing. You start seeing these labels. Mm-hmm. If you're going to call it a demon, then you've got to understand. Well, okay, you're going to say it's fallen what? Fallen what now? What's that word?
Fallen angels.
What are they?
Fallen angels.
Angels.
So that would imply, right?
Dude,
it does imply
that's metal.
That it's also angels.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one of the big things that we get into with these people who have these hardcore beliefs. Oh, it's demon. Well, if you're going to say that, you're going to live by that particular belief structure. And you have to also accept the fact that this could also be angelic in nature and of God, creator, source, call it what you want, the force. I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's all labels.
Yeah.
So we're all fighting over the same thing. And this is Earth.
Yeah, man. I love it. Yeah, it really opens my mind to like, you know what, JD, you don't know anything. And
you're at a good starting point.
This is beautiful in a way. Yeah, exactly. And I think, some of the my understanding of why they say this is like, well, it's just trying to direct you away and tell you that God is a lie when he's not. You know what I'm saying? It's just like a magic trick that the devil's playing to kind of get you all confused.
So the devil led me to my wife, led me to my best friends, led me to every single person that I know, according to that logic. And I don't believe that.
One of which was a minister.
Yep.
One of which was a minister. So a terrible job this thing has done.
I love y'all, dude. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to do like one of these a year.
I'm down, man.
Yeah. So, all right, let's get into the shows. You tell me about the production series you mentioned.
Yeah,
so, explain to people, about that.
Sure. So, we were contacted by some friends of ours because, like Ron mentioned earlier, we were doing some work with Small Town Monsters. It's, the shirt that we got on right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Seth in here, and it's scheduling is just tough.
He's hard to nail down.
Yeah,
we did work for him, and it was trying to nail him down was crazy.
Yeah,
so, he has people think one of the things that they overestimate or overthink about Seth is the fact that he has a team of people that he works with, but because of that he's not intricately involved in every project that they have. But Seth is 100% invested in every product that they have.
Heck yeah.
And he is out there filming. He's in the editing room, cutting these film up and putting it together into something you can consume. And he's nonstop. I don't know how the guy does it.
Excellent documentaries. Done the Mothman, Flatwoods Monster. I mean, Bray Road. Was it Bray Road Monster?
Bray Road Beast.
Bray Road Beast. All kinds of good ones out there that you all can rent. So I highly suggest.
And not just that, so many of them are free over on their YouTube channel. You can just go to Small Town Monsters YouTube, and that's where you'll catch Paranormal Horizons.
Heck yeah.
So he contacted us and he asked us basically to do a series, and Ron asked him, what do you want it on?
Like, what are you thinking? Because, and I'm assuming at this time they want to do a series, they're going to come out and film it with us and whatnot, I'm like, what do y'all want to shoot? He's like, oh, anything y'all want. And I'm like, okay, so you'd basically follow us around. He's like, oh no, I want y'all to do it. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so look, we'll send you the cameras, we'll make sure you have all the music, everything you need, I'm like, all right then, but we won't. I mean, if you want it to be about us, are you thinking anyone's going to actually watch this? And me and Joe had already talked, if that's the case, then we're going to tell the story the way it is.
Yeah. Cause we had already started, right? We had already had the ball rolling with investigations. And then Seth had contacted us to do this and gave us full creative. We didn't have gatekeepers telling us what to do, which was a major hindrance. If you've ever done any kind of work with major television production, gatekeepers are horrible, right? They're the ones that dictate what you see on TV.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't have any of those hoops to jump through. And there was a major offer on the plate that didn't go through because we had full creative over here, and this was where we wanted to be.
Shoot, man.
So we went with Paranormal Horizons and went down that path, and we were able to tell the story. And like Seth said, we told the story of us. He did, he asked for a couple episodes that were specifically about Bigfoot, and then the rest of it can be whatever we want to do. Because we were 2022, we were Bigfoot Researchers of the Year. So it makes sense to turn the West Virginia Bigfoot guys loose on some West Virginia Bigfoot stuff and see what happens.
That's the only way to do it. How many episodes did you end up doing?
12.
12
episodes. And the last episode is a double. So technically there's 13. If you
it's like a bonus episode at the end of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all done in house. They sent us the cameras, but Ron sat in the editing room and cobbled it together and got everything spliced up, and what you see is truly a work of Wild and Weird West Virginia that Small Town Monsters released.
My wife Maria filmed. You filmed. Adam Good came in. He filmed.
He did the drone work.
Yeah, he did the drone work for us on a few things. So it was just that's it. That's our crew. That was all there was. And then the rest was just sitting there editing it and making it all go together as a story. And when we did it, we wanted to make sure that, unlike all these other paranormal shows, and this was what we set out to do, is like, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to tell this story. We know of some places. We know if we can get this down, man, is it going to be good?
Yeah.
Because it's getting weird,
Mm-hmm.
And we'd already been to Wineberry. We'd already shot a little bit of stuff there. I'm like, if we could go that route, this is where we're going to go, but I don't want it out of context. So as every time you see an investigation on there, it's happening linearly.
Yeah.
Completely linearly. Okay. So what happens here in a lot of cases in these shows is they'll take little bits and pieces and form a story together, even though it may be, maybe someone did see a UFO, but they'll lead up to it with this and that, and it might be out of context. Ours isn't. It's actually from point A to point B. Unless there's a flashback sequence that justifies any of it at some point, it's happening in real time. And you get to see that with this.
And watch the full progression.
Different. Yeah, it's a little different because you get to see honest reactions as they're happening in real time, and they're wild.
How long did it take you to shoot?
Oh, my
a year.
Gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a year worth of shooting.
And you was telling me you all kind of try to put all your production into like summer. Is that right? You kind of.
Yeah, we would put things together, like say if one of our witnesses is, we got stuff going on right now. Okay, we're gonna side rail over here.
Sure.
But generally, because of the show schedule that we keep, we're on the road in the spring doing stuff. So we shot a couple when we were on the road out of state, and then we filmed heavy from the end of May, and we filmed till normally like October. We're in November actually.
We did. It got started to get cold around November. We had to wrap up. And man, so while we wrapped up, we're going to go back to,
I know,
the weather kind of kicked us out of there, but we're going back to that.
Yeah. We started just after Christmas of 2023, filmed all the way through 2024.
Yeah.
And yeah,
love it.
It was nuts.
That's awesome, man. All right. We're going to walk through some of your most memorable investigations. Is there any one that, I know we have a lot of show and tell here. We got some videos. Is there a particular one that stands out to you of, I don't know, not most successful? I mean, I'm sure you enjoy them all to some extent, but obviously I would enjoy it more when you find some type of evidence.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, Wandberry is a prime example of one of the first ones that we had that was really just, it had a fantastic story from the witness. And then we actually found tracks, which was 100% not expected. And it was great. We came home with a massive track cast, which I got here with me.
Oh, sweet.
And, we've got,
you can leave that on the table. Thanks.
Well, no, I'm kidding. I've got you. I was going to bring you a copy, but because it's been so humid and nasty,
sure.
It's did what we call soaping up. So when I pulled it out of the mold, it just kind of came apart like powdered detergent,
Oh man, I appreciate the thought.
I'm going to get you one up here, and because I got to drive by here towards the end of the week anyway.
Next time, y'all will be back for sure. But yeah, tell me, Wineberry?
Yeah, Wineberry is a
code name.
It's a code name for a location because we didn't want people jumping down in there and disturbing the area.
Gotcha.
Right? Because it became a permanent fixture of our research. And it's located in Wyoming County.
Ooh,
not too far from here.
Yeah, I lived there for 12 years.
Right on. And so this witness has had prolonged experiences and encounters there of everything from Bigfoot to UFO to apparitions, full-on apparitions. And the land has been in their family since pre-Civil War days. A lot of weird stuff.
A lot of weird stuff. It was the first place that we ever ourselves personally got the 1.6.
Yeah.
And like this is,
and explain what that means.
Crazy.
The 1.6.
Well, anyone who watches Skinwalker Ranch knows they get the 1.6 gigahertz signal, right? So every now and again on paranormal investigations, we have a spectrum analyzer, and every now and again we would get 1.6, and it's like, we got to the point where we got it so many times we try to debunk it.
Yeah.
And we have debunked some.
Right. And we came up with a protocol.
We had to come up with a protocol because it was showing up so much. And, that they say it's Earth to space, privilege and all this. But what that translates to is it is a satellite communication. And the GPS systems can give this off.
Yeah.
L-band radar, right?
Yep.
Can give it off.
L-band radar.
So
like what's on barges and whatnot.
So there's all these possible sources for this stuff. So we have to go through our, we have to look through all the data that says, look, is this happening here? Is this not happening here? And then we look at the waterfall. And the waterfall is under your spectrum analyzer. That shows the signal, the amount of the signal. if it's pulsing on, pulsing off, things like
or
that.
if it's just a consistent run.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And of course, you're also looking for the decibel, and the decibel is the power of that particular frequency. Well, some of these little ones, you get like negative 20, negative 50, something like that. But when we were at Wineberry, and this was following an orb sighting just the night before, okay, we go up there and we're in this area. We're like, let's ask some questions, talking to the witness, and spectrum analyzer starts going off 1.6. And we thought we recorded this because I'm doing this interview with her at the time and trying to record this whole thing for us. I'm like, we got it, And I go back to the camera and it's not recording. I'm like, I turned it on, and I'm like, all right. So I turn it on again. And I go back out to him, and you can see his face. He's visibly distraught at this point because we just lost probably one of the coolest bits of possible data. So I'm like, what were we doing? And I start thinking, I'm like, okay, we're talking about this. It's like, talk about that. So we talked about it again. And lo and behold, while we're talking about this, that 1.6 comes right back. And it's pretty high. It's somewhere up in the
it wasn't as high
right?
or as strong as the first time, but it came back and it was definitely there again.
It was up there again.
Yeah.
And so we did this a couple of times out there on that. And it was only when we talked about certain things that we received this. And I remember this was the day that it was one of those situations when we're driving back home. There's like, we'd talk and there'd be these moments of silence because it's just like, this is real. Like that was hitting us at that point. It was like, there's
not just that, but we also realized it was similar to ITC.
Oh, it's 100% ITC.
Because we were getting call and response, almost like an EVP would for a paranormal.
It's instrumental transcommunication.
Now, ITC. Oh, is that what that means?
Instrumental transcommunication. Yeah. It's a form of using basically any kind of equipment to validate a communication with something. Yeah. Now, the ghost hunters and the paranormal researchers will say that's ghosts, that's spirits. But truth is, we don't know what that is. Okay. Yeah. So it was the same kind of thing. And every time that she would start talking about this stuff, this signal would show up. And I'm like, okay, and now, something's going on here.
A ghost isn't going to be generating a 1.6 Earth to satellite frequency.
I'm not sure why it would.
Right. What would its point of origin be? Why? How would it activate? The ghost is like, oh yeah, I'm going to get that satellite to blast something down.
I don't know. Have you seen some of these Appalachian ghosts? I mean, they're pretty strong.
That's true. But I mean, I would more expect that to be like, get that steel burning.
Sure. Yeah. That's true. I'm going to go get some mint coal.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that's great.
But, we had that happen and we were talking on the way home. Like this was being triggered. This was like almost call and response.
Which led us to a lot of research. And, we were interviewing people, right? And we interviewed Tony, wasn't it? We interviewed Tony and then we had Steve
and Tony. Yeah. And
they both started talking about John Keel and some of his experiments with the flashlight. I'm like, let's go out here and try this. Let's give this a shot. So we go out there and we tried it.
And we didn't just go out there.
No.
We went out there in Wineberry, but we also recreated in the series for Paranormal Horizons. We recreated Keel's exact experiments on location where he was conducting them. And we got results. And we're going to show you some of those here in a bit.
Heck yeah.
But
back to Wineberry.
This is where it kind of started. And let's test it. Kind of like I went to those crop circles all those years ago. it all comes back around as validation. But we went out there to do this and, the light didn't work. We blew up our surge protector and, that ended up being some interesting footage. But what did happen was we were back on the hillside.
We had a light that was...
We had a laser.
The light was antique light.
Oh, we did have the antique light.
We'll tell them why it blew. It was such a cool thing.
Oh, it was like awesome.
A 1960s era stage light, like you would use to light a news broadcasting area.
It was weird because we fired this thing up, showed what it looked like, and then when we do this experiment, it's like you see the light, just everything blasts brilliantly, and then it just dies.
Because when we showed what it should look like, it's like one of those let there be light moments.
It's crazy.
Boom.
It doesn't, but that didn't happen. So we ended up like, let's try the headlamp. Couldn't see that. I'm like, I want something we can see. So I had the laser. I had the green laser at the time. I'm like, let's go use the lasers. Try that. So we went up in the woods.
Legally.
And
Used the lasers legally.
well, we were firing at the hillside. So, which shouldn't get anything. Nothing should happen when we're firing at a hillside. But we were in this area where this strange tree structure was. And I don't know how to explain the tree structure. Why don't you go ahead and try
this
that?
isn't a Bigfoot tree structure, okay? I'm sure you've probably seen some stuff online.
They blow my mind.
Well, this one is really weird.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Bigfoot.
Okay.
At least I don't think so.
I mean, it was a big Bigfoot if it did.
Right. Like 14 plus feet tall.
Yeah.
Anyway. So this is a tree. We found where the stump was, and it is nowhere near where this tree is. It was like 25 feet to the rear of it, and then several feet off to the left. But this tree was laid down and woven through 6 other trees.
Woven between 6 other trees.
And it was 14 feet in the air.
Did you get a picture of this?
Oh, we got it on video.
It's on video. We documented it.
When Ron was standing underneath the pinnacle of this thing, it was pegging the tri-field meter.
Made no sense. We started getting weird.
That's electric in the air.
Yeah, we started getting weird microwave readings over there. You got radiation readings there. And I'm like, this is just strange. So
there's no reason that should happen.
There was no reason. So we ended up firing the laser, just doing a test, 1, 2, 3, testing. And
had that weird noise.
Oh yeah, there's a weird noise that happens. And we caught that too.
Yeah.
We managed to catch a lot of stuff up there that just blew our minds.
What kind of noise?
I don't even know how to explain it. It was weird.
It was like a little like.
You want to tell the full story of this about the little laugh?
Well, we can. Because we didn't explore it on the show. So
we didn't explore it on the show.
So we had a previous, while we were out filming, we'd had a previous incident where we had some stuff happen. And we were questioning little people involvement.
Okay. So Beth says that.
Yes. Beth,
and I said, don't say those words.
Because we're not talking about little people like, mini me.
Right.
We're talking about like little people, Native American little people.
Gotcha. Okay.
And those are small people, essentially.
Something.
According to their stories. Very mischievous little critters. Well, we hear this stuff. We hear the rustling in the leaves.
They're hearing little footsteps.
They're hearing little tightly spaced footsteps. And one of our microphone bags goes missing. And but it shows back up in his basement.
Yeah. Yeah, he's weird, man.
So, and like months. Like
and you saw it physically before that.
I'm the one that unpacked it.
Okay.
So when we had all the stuff from small town, like all that gear was put on, like, because it was on loan, it was on my homeowner's insurance. So all of it was going home with me every time. So I kept all the stuff together, everything.
There was no reason for me to have it.
There's no reason for the Rode microphone bag to wind up in his basement.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Wow.
Because it was never there. We never filmed in his basement. His studio's upstairs. And we always kept all the equipment. Like we had a table layout where we'd put everything down and keep it all organized. So when load up was ready, we could just, put it all back together quick and easy.
Sure.
But we couldn't find it. Gone. So Beth brings up the little people. We start having weird stuff happening. And, we get out there in the woods. Ron's doing the laser. We hear that little laugh behind us. Then as we're leaving, we catch eye shine, and we got it on camera. We caught some eye shine, and it was like, oh, that's like a raccoon. That's just a raccoon because it was like green eye shine. And as a raccoon, that's crazy. I was like, it's probably just will skitter off and be gone. Well, then we get up there to where it was at, and where the flashlight was hitting this old metal chair. We realized was way taller than a raccoon. And we're like, oh, that's like 3.5 feet off the ground. Well, that's weird.
It was weird.
You call Ron, be like, Ron, we finally did it. We're cursed.
It was weird, man.
Right?
It was weird. But yeah, so, there was, I don't know. I don't know what that was. I'll be honest with you. I couldn't tell you, but I do know that we saw some weird stuff up there.
Yeah.
We saw the lights, and we did get the 1.6 every time I fired that laser at the hillside, not the sky, just the hillside.
But then we also had the, ghost whippoorwill.
Ghost whippoorwill, but that was
That was
it.
That was a different location.
Yeah.
Well, we got to walk through that.
But
Did you get the 1.21 gigawatts there
man.
too?
We actually did.
Did you? Okay.
And we got radiation too, gamma radiation. And
wow. That's not good.
no,
Oh, okay.
that's the one you don't want.
right.
Yeah, that's the one.
And so
But you have like a Geiger counter, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
we each carry one.
Yeah.
And every member of the team almost at this point has one. So of all the West Virginia High Strangeness Collective, that's our research team, and we got people all over the place, and they've all got similar loadouts at this point.
How many's on it?
Larry, Scott, Adam, me, you, Teresa works with us. You had Teresa in here recently.
Shout out Teresa.
Yep.
Amazing storyteller.
And Beth. That's probably more of the closer core group.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Solid group, it sounds like.
We would say Glenn, but
Yeah, Glenn, we work with Glenn too.
He's on and off.
He's on and off. He's kind of on an as needed or as wants to be in the building basis.
Gotcha.
Glenn Adkins, he's a Ohio Bigfoot project.
Oh, cool.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, Ohio Squash Project. Yeah.
Yeah. That's it.
And he's the guy that came up with the squash stick that you see everybody beating on the trees.
Nice.
But yeah, so in Canal State Forest, we're out there filming. We're doing a Bigfoot episode. We're out there looking for Bigfoot. We start having little people stuff happening. Weird noises.
We didn't know that at the time.
We didn't know it at the time. It was in post. Yeah. Because we had a whippoorwill that followed us for miles.
What is a whippoorwill again?
They're nighthawks. So it's a small, predatory.
Yeah.
night
Okay.
bird.
Gotcha.
And, their name sounds like the call they make. It's
Mm-hmm.
ba-boo, ba-boo kind of thing. And, we had one following us literally for miles. And it was tracking us. And then we got the radiation spike and it shut up and didn't make any noise. Then we get back to the woods or back out of the woods and on the hardtop road, walking down the hardtop, and there's the whippoorwill laying on the road. I've done bird rescue and like for raptor rescue and taking stuff to Through Rivers Avian. And I had a little cat carrier in the truck. I was like, oh, no big deal. I'll just pick this thing up, haul it off. We'll take it. I'll take it to the bird rescue tomorrow and it'll be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I go to pick this thing up. We had this on thermal. Okay. This is on thermal. You can see the whippoorwill. I go to pick this thing up and it vanishes. It's gone. Doesn't even exist. 3 people saw this.
Hold on. You pick it up and it disappears?
I go to pick it up. I'm like me to that multi-tap on the floor and it disappears.
Wow.
And is gone. I don't know what to make of it. So we go back and doing some post research. And the Algonquin lore in this region said that the Manitow Tutek, which was their little people, would take the form of a whippoorwill to move through the forest at night.
No way. You found that after the fact? Wow.
And so, yeah, we have the ghost whippoorwill story. That one was pretty fun.
Dude, that's amazing.
Another one that had really good results too was back at Wineberry again with the SEOP.
The
self-illuminating.
self-illuminated anomalous phenomena. We gave these things names because we wanted to get them away from, change the lexicon.
Yeah,
Actually,
we needed to clean up the lexicon. Really, is what we needed to do.
What is the lexicon?
Well,
I'm sorry.
So the lexicon is the language that we use.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So everybody uses all these orbs, right? Orbs is a pretty unanimous term. You hear that in the Bigfoot community. You hear that in UFO. You hear that in paranormal ghost hunting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, all of those 3 things are all 3 different phenomena. Okay. When you go out and you see orbs in a haunted house, what they're saying and speculating is that this is, some kind of ectoplasmic or ethereal entity moving around. When you're out in the middle of the woods and you see a ball of light moving, that is definitely not the same thing because it's being seen visually or it's being seen only on night vision.
Yeah. And a lot of orbs, as soon as you say that, they're gone. People are just tuned out because they're like, that's dust. It's automatically dust. And a lot of them are. I'll be 100%.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
you get into these abandoned buildings and you turn on an infrared camera.
You're going to see
a lot of.
Yeah.
You're going to see it.
Yeah.
So,
and those are the depth of field of the camera, and then a dust ball turns into a big focus.
That's
ring.
right.
Yeah.
Or it could be one that's far out,
Mhm.
bokeh
but it
effect.
catches the IR. and
Okay.
it lightly
Mhm.
reflects the IR in the background, and you'll see it just show up as a speck of light moving across the camera,
Mhm.
and then it fades off because it's now moved. It's shifted its angle, so the reflective surface of that microscopic particle is no longer facing the sensor,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it can't see it anymore.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So those are dust. So we needed something that isn't dust. We're looking for things that are self-illuminated. That's important. Self-illumination. So like, you know what? We're going to come see up self-illuminated anomalous phenomena because that's exactly what they are. They're also a part of our subject B criteria, which is a non-physical form of a phenomena.
And we have subject A and subject B.
Yeah.
We broke things down because you got so many people in the Bigfoot camp that Bigfoot is flesh and blood. And if you're not flesh and blood, then you're into the woo and you're crazy and we don't want to talk to you.
Mhm.
And the people who are into the strangeness side of Bigfoot, they sit and they do the same thing and they fight with people over on the flesh and blood side. And then in the UFO community, you've got the same kind of dog fights going on, right? So we wanted to compartmentalize because we're in the middle of the road. We're data driven. We only care about collecting the data. We don't care about what somebody else thinks. We don't care about what people's opinions are. If you have an opinion about this, look at the data, be directed by the data, only follow the data. That's it.
And when you make your conclusion, prove to me that you're not following a belief criteria.
Yeah.
And that you're actually following the data.
Right.
So we have some footage.
Let's
there
bring
of a
it up.
CEOP.
Which one?
Which one is that?
It would be the IRBF walk, I think, right? No, that's
No.
thermal. It would be IR orb.
Our orb.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that's the bright one.
Let me hit pause
is
here and
incredible.
we'll set this up.
Oh,
Let me
boy.
set it on loop. Got it on repeat. So, and then I'm going to get it. So set this up for me, Joe.
All right. So what we're looking at right here, Ron and I, if you were to look at this screen, the girls thought that this was actually us. So they quit filming it after a certain point. But if you're looking at this screen, Ron and I would have been about, 100 yards off to the right and north of this,
Mhm.
up a higher elevation and to the right, nowhere near where this light source is.
Okay.
Also, this light source is in a general area. You can see a trail down there in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
We walk out that trail eventually.
Right here.
Yeah, that
Okay.
walkway, we walk out that eventually when we come back. But where that light is at is over top of a body of water. See the long grass right there, and the just right to the right. Right
here.
there.
Yep.
Behind that is a big pond.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that ball of light is above the water, and we are walking down and around. We come down eventually, but you don't see that in this segment. But that ball of light is only visible in IR.
Yeah. And
It's invisible to the naked eye.
So you're not seeing this
They didn't see
with your eyes.
They
right
couldn't
now.
see it. They could only see it on night vision camera.
No, just in
Okay.
night vision.
I'll
And
let
what's
this get
interesting is you and me are up here, right? And that's when our battery started to die.
Our batteries died when this thing was doing whatever it's doing.
I'm gonna make it full screen. We'll just play it and then have it loop.
And what you can see here too is this ball of light. It's
making the
invisible.
flare.
It's actually
It's creating a lens flare.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
was
a
Yeah,
that
see
nothing?
those are
That
bugs.
Bugs. Got it.
Bug.
Okay.
But-
Okay.
But that ball of light is actually lighting up. It's so intense that it's such a harsh infrared source of light that it's lighting up the branch underneath it.
Wow. And
You
you
can see it start to move.
yeah, you
That's when
can't see it.
She thought it was us
From your
walking
eyes.
through the woods.
Yeah.
No, it's
No.
completely invisible.
Wow.
And a lot of this stuff is. A lot of this stuff is very
It looks
much.
like there's like a reflection.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
Off the
illuminating
bottom.
that branch.
Oh, that's a branch. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there.
Yeah, it's illuminating the branch. It's that intense of an infrared light source, and it's shining light. Obviously, it's not just a point of focal light looking out. That is a ball of light that is emitting light 360 degrees
Yeah.
because it's shining down, it's shining up around, and it's weird. This again, invisible to the naked eye.
Yeah.
That's crazy, dude. I mean, I don't guess, could there be a camera up there or some
Not-
kind of a.
It
Not
moves.
there.
It actually moves.
You'll see it move. I know the camera gets a little wobbly and shaky, but this thing actually
You'll see
starts
it kind
moving
of start to move
right here.
right at the end when she
When
she
it
stops
starts
filming.
moving, they thought it was us walking in, so they
Oh,
take the camera off the mount and get ready to call it. But it starts to move off into the wood.
That's when the
gotcha.
light
Yeah,
shifts.
yeah.
Yeah.
But that branch is around 9 feet off the ground.
Interesting. And
So-
this is a secret location too. We're not going to.
This is
This is
Wineberry.
Wineberry.
This is Wineberry. Got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So code name Wineberry.
Yep.
How fun. And it really is something to these locations. Like there really is more things that happen in certain areas than others. I mean, obviously that's and some of them are marketed like Trans-Allegheny, but really you have this feeling when you get there, or at least I do. Now that's not really data driven, but have you all ever got like a physical feeling in any of these places or
From time to time, yes. And what you're talking about, has been hypothesized by hundreds of researchers in the past, and they called them window areas. And it's areas where high strangeness almost seems localized and focused, right? We work in a lot of these areas, that's where some of our research focus is now shifted into is window area study and seeing what all data and how frequently we can collect that data in those areas.
Let's just say John Keel was ahead of his time.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people learning that now. It's not just us, but finally people are starting to figure this out. There are places where it seems like these things occur. You have this overlap.
John Keel, Jacques Vallée,
yeah.
they were all way ahead. And right. And going to J. Allen Hynek, he had hypothesized it as well. He was Project Blue Book. He was the scientist behind Project Blue Book
and walked away from it.
And remind me what that was exactly. I know I'm thinking of Blue Beam. Isn't there a Project Blue Beam? Isn't that UFOs?
Project Blue Beam, Ron?
or what? I can't remember. There's something to that.
Blue Beam is a conspiracy theory
based
upon an actual
theoretical documentation that was done in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from.
Okay.
And this guy decided that he was going to write a book about this, which he did. Blue Beam NASA, something like that. I don't remember the name of it. All I know is that on the cover, there's this guy looking down and someone said that's Sky Daddy, and he's become our mascot.
Yeah, Sky Daddy has become the mascot of Wild and Weird
That's
Radio.
where Sky Daddy came from.
Sky Daddy, Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah, that's, at the time, I don't think it could have been.
But Project Blue Book was the U.S. Air Force's government issued run to discredit and explain away UFOs.
Yeah.
So, J. Allen Hynek was the professor that was brought in to conduct the investigations and prove that everything was fake. Then he wound up walking away from it, and he became one of the lead consultants on Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah.
And then he came up with the high strangeness scale, and
Close Encounters 1, 2, and 3. But people don't realize that in that same book, the UFO Experience, he describes the high strangeness probability index, and that was exactly what that is. It's high strangeness that was involved in some of these sightings. And we see that. It's the same thing we saw here. We have an area where we're receiving these weird signals, and we have lights, and there's UAP in the sky. Okay, that's high strangeness.
There's possible Bigfoot activity in the area. It's overlap. A whole area of overlap. Then we've got,
thank goodness all these people did the groundwork to figure out how to chart these things.
Yeah, right. And it was crucial to our work, and we like to reflect back to those folks and cite their work in our research. So many people claim it as their own.
Oh yeah.
And we are very careful to make sure to credit the folks, the forefathers of high strangeness research, to make sure that they're the ones that get the credit that they're due. We might come up with some new ideas. Yes, our technology is now more advanced, and we can do some pretty creative things. And we've actually come up with some somewhat novel tests.
The Bigfoot people have the 4 horsemen of Bigfoot. Well, we have the 4 horsemen of high strangeness. That would be Hynek.
Yep.
That would be Vallée, Keel, and Charles Fort.
Oh, I love it. That's the Mount Rushmore.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
Those are the people that were in high strangeness, paranormal, bizarre stuff. They're the ones that really did the charting and laying out the groundwork that everybody works off of now and tries to claim as their own.
Yeah. Did you all sit down in like early days, create like a Google Doc of like, all right, well, here's our process, or come up with some bylaws or like, did you
Protocol.
Okay.
Protocol.
So you have these things like stepped out process of what you'll do in certain situations.
We do. We have SOPs for every scenario that we got. And we go out like if we're getting UFO,
and that's standard operation protocol.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Got it.
And we go out and we conduct ourselves in a certain way, and we keep it uniform so that way we collect the data in the purest way.
Mm-hmm.
If we're out doing Bigfoot research, we have all the gear with us. If we're out doing UFO research, we have the tape measures and everything for Bigfoot research with us.
Yeah.
It's just keeping everything consistent so that way you don't have anything that could potentially skew the data.
Love it. All right. What's the next story with these videos here?
Stay in Wineberry and find the, where's the red one? I can't remember the name of it.
It would be
Witness Clip 5.
Wineberry SAP. That one.
Is that it?
SIAP.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So this is Full Spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And they had started seeing a couple of lights up in the distance. Now, these were visible lights, okay? So, but we just happened to catch this one on Full Spectrum, which is really interesting because you can see the color shift on this thing.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and let it roll here. Tell me what I'm watching.
And again, they thought, oh, no, that's them coming back. And this time we radioed. It was like, yeah, we're not near there. And we actually caught that on... it's actually in the episode. You'll be able to see that. But yeah, that's it.
For people watching, it's like, is infrared?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's infrared. It's like a back road, little woodland area in the distance. And then at the end of the clip, you zoom in and you catch a bright beam of light appear in the bushes.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like it's moving because you see it blink. And we're not sure if it is a blinking source of light or if it's just moving behind debris.
We're not,
because this is a heavily wooded area.
Right.
But if you want to put us in orientation, we would be, if that's where that light is, again, we are way off and to the right and up at a higher elevation. We're almost halfway point to the ridge on that mountain when this happened.
Did they see this when they recorded it, or who recorded it?
Okay, so let's see. Beth was looking. She had
we set up base
the
camp.
Gen 2 down at base camp,
Mm-hmm.
and she was looking off in the distance. We had our camera actually pointed in an opposite direction because we thought we'd get activity on this ridge where there had been orbs that had been seen there before.
Mm-hmm.
And before this, you'll actually hear she says something like, there's a light up ahead. And Maria, my wife, she slews the camera around to point in this direction. And that's it right there. When she slews it around in that direction, boom, that happens.
So it cuts on and off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it could be just moving behind
We don't know.
debris.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm.
We don't
But
know.
or it could be blinking.
Well, see, you see a little one pop up
Yeah.
on the left right before it real quick. It goes, where it was, boop. And then you zoom in.
That's it.
And then there it
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
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 So
Man.
I don't know, but we do know that, following these similar reports that whatever those are, I mean, we ran into them a lot. We
were getting Geiger counter readings at this point when this happened in
Mhm.
our location. And we were also getting elevated tri-field readings.
Hmm.
So what it showed us was we were starting to get this escalation in events. And that happened. It started with this Bigfoot stuff, right? And then all of a sudden, she's seeing orbs. And then, there's these other things. And now there's UFOs. I mean, it's an escalation. But that's not just at Wineberry. That's everywhere. And we kind of validated that with all the research that we were doing as well. It seemed like whatever this was, it wanted to up the game every single time. And boy, did it. Because, the thing that happened at Wild Weird Con with the thermal.
Great. And I was going to have him show that one next.
Yeah, that's one of the more weird things.
But you can see how when you just kind of scrub through,
Mhm.
you can see how
There you go.
it does swell and then it just blank goes out.
Yeah. It has
Don't-
like a pulsing.
There it is.
Yeah.
And we see this with other examples of the
But when it goes out, it goes out.
Yep. Let's see. It's like literally whoop.
Yeah.
It's, I
One
mean,
frame.
Yeah. And usually when you have something turn like let's say a
Something
flashlight,
faded.
it's you're gonna have a couple frames of dimming, you know, but it's boop.
It's just gone.
Yeah,
And it wasn't seen again.
that's a good one.
So that's an interesting one.
Love it.
And see, it's fun seeing this perspective with you because you're a camera guru.
Yeah,
And so you also know what you're kind of looking at here, and you're like, oh, well, I saw your face light up a little bit when you were like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I know what it looks like when lights shut off.
Right.
You know, and that's not what it looks like. It's you got a little bit of play there,
Especially
a couple
on an
frames.
infrared camera. You're going to see
yeah.
that lower level light.
Well, see, I don't have any experience there, but I would imagine.
We'll have to fix that.
Yeah, I mean, like infrared, I imagine, you know, it would be more than the typical
Oh, it would be.
light,
Yeah.
you know, typical camera.
But yeah, we'll have to fix that for him. We'll have to get him out in the field.
I know.
Yeah.
Just give me a parts list and send me the protocol. I'll take the blood oath.
So the IRBF walk is
RBS.
second one in.
Got it.
All right. So this is a thermal target. We're conducting a workshop at Chief Logan during Wild and Weird Con.
Mm-hmm.
And we have some of our friends and fellow researchers from Hellbent Holler.
Yeah.
They came up, Jesse and Joe.
Is that a real holler?
It is for them.
Oh, okay. They made it. I was going to say,
Right.
heck
I
yeah.
wish. But that's their research name, and their channel is Hellbent Holler.
Love it.
And Jessie was actually on Wild and Weird Radio for a while, and that's how we got to know her. And Wayne kind of hand selected her to come in as a replacement for a season.
Mm.
And she came in and worked with us for a while. And we had them come up and do a workshop for us and at the convention. And this is what was captured. This was the very first night that we actually had our thermal out in the field.
Yeah.
And this is down in a ravine. There is no moon. The moon is a new moon and is below the horizon too. So there's that red
heat
source. That's the
signature.
heat
Yeah.
signature.
It looks like it's.
Now, if you watch it, you can almost see something moving hand to mouth in the creek,
What was crazy about this?
and then it walks away.
Oh, Lord. That's cool.
That was the reaction right there. So what we saw was, well, what we heard, because there were these stations set up. They had like little different stations where people come up and use the equipment. And in this station, this wasn't the video station, by the way. This was the audio station.
Mhm.
So they had a big parabolic dish set up, and people started hearing sounds down in this valley. Well, we just got the thermal, and I had it with me. He was back cooking for everybody.
I was making everybody's dinner for that.
So I'm like, let's turn it on. Let's shoot it down in the valley, and let's see. Maybe I got a deer. Maybe I got a possum. I don't know.
And some people had said they heard stuff walking.
Yeah, they
in that
did.
area.
They did.
Yeah.
And so I turned this thing on, and we tethered it out so everybody could see it. So there were multiple witnesses who got to see this. And when we saw what you just saw, that was the reaction. Literally, that's what you hear on the audio. They're just like, "Whoa!" So we go up to the thermal station, which is right after this. She's like, "We'll be able to go down in that valley, and we'll be able to see this thing." And there's nothing there.
And you can see this thing steps off with 2 feet. Like if you watch down in that bottom frame, you can watch it as it begins to walk off, and you can see the scissoring motion of legs of bipedal movement.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and you didn't go down there and find some dude named Floyd smoking a couple Marlboros or
right?
something?
That would have been that was something that we did look into. But you're dealing in a no moon situation,
Right.
so he would have had a headlamp.
There's no electric either.
There's no right. The power was out at the camp because there's a tree that fell on a transformer.
Mm.
But we had no light, no residual light. He had if this was a person down there, they're walking in an area and you'll see it disappear. Right, It looks like it just vanishes. There's a 6.5 foot drop off because we did go investigate and we found track casts.
Yeah,
we found tracks and cast them. But right there, it just steps off and drops off into the ravine.
You didn't hear?
No, there wasn't any of that. But they were running their psionics sport.
Yeah,
they had a infrared is what they're doing. So they're looking down there. If there was a beacon, these things are used to navigate nautical ships at night, right?
Yeah.
If they would have seen any kind of light, it would have screamed in this area.
Yeah, this is amazing. If you're listening, imagine you're watching the movie Predator and it goes into Predator vision, but it's the home video version.
Right.
And there's a person that's like, I don't know, how far would you say that is? 100 feet?
It was 120 feet.
120 feet. Look at that. I could hunt. Yeah. That's cool.
But yeah, we from where he was standing, straight line through the air
Well,
is
we
about
didn't-
120 feet.
We
but
didn't think much of it until we saw that walkaway and we saw how big this thing was.
Well,
It
we
was
did a
like,
recreation with me in the thermal as well,
Wait a minute.
side by
Oh, yeah.
side, and it makes me look small.
Yeah, that's on the investigation.
Okay,
series.
yeah, I was gonna say, is there a way you could figure out how tall it was? Like if you knew exactly the distance. and
Given the
then-
debris, it's too hard to gauge the exact height because, as you can see, there's a spot.
Not
Now,
really sure.
we know where the hips are.
Mhm.
I can tell you where the hips were at, and the hips would have hit me about the bottom part of my rib cage.
Okay, so
So it's
unless
right around
Shaquille
4
O'Neal is out there walking around
Right.
in the woods,
Total darkness.
yeah, in
And-
total darkness.
And the footprint that we collected off this one was around it was 14 and a half inches is what the footprint was, and there were multiple footprints. There wasn't just one. We just cast one because it was the only one worth casting. But yeah, there were multiple footprints. We saw where there was something had been down there eating some of the green that was in the area.
Mhm.
Particularly, it was eating the nettle, and nettle is extremely high in vitamin C and fiber.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I don't know that, but I'm believe you.
but it had been, you could see where it was nipped off.
Right.
And there was a creek right there where this thing was at. And it looks, if you watch it, you can almost see that hand to mouth motion.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's-
And I'm going in slow motion to verify, like, this is not fake. You can see the fragments and everything moving. Like, I mean, you'd have to be like extremely expensive VFX artist to pull it off. So yeah, it's 100% real. So you mentioned at the beginning, it looks like he's kind of taking a sip,
Yeah, you can you can see some movement here, and it looks almost hand to mouth.
Oh yeah, okay.
You'll see it about.
It's right
there.
Yeah, right there, right there.
Yep.
Was that
Yeah.
it? It's like a little.
Yep.
Whoop.
You see that? Isn't that wild? I don't
Yep.
know. But I do know that the next day was Wild and Weird Con. So we could not go back up there and do what we wanted to do, which
until it was over.
until it was over, which was at around 6:00 that
Yeah.
evening. Well, by then we had several people who wanted to come up with us and go out and see this. So we took them with us.
Mhm.
We go out, and this time we had the Geiger counter, we had the comms,
We had the whole rig
and
that we had at the time.
And so we go up there, and he finds this spot, which literally was a walkway. There's a walkway up there, and that's where you found the footprint.
Mhm.
And we realized at that point how far down in that valley this was.
Because I tried to get down there that day, and I needed
It was-
equipment.
it
to
was
get
too
down there.
late.
It was
Mm.
too steep of a ravine.
Yeah.
I even fell when we did the recreation. I fell 50 feet.
Oh,
Like
Oh, yeah,
it
he
wasn't a
slid.
straight down fall, but like I fell and slid 50 feet down the hill and stopped myself on a tree.
Yeah, it was steep. This is really down in a deep, deep valley. That's why everybody who says, "Oh, that's a hunter," I'm like, he's a magical hunter because he does it. He can see in the dark.
it's like some Davy Crockett stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and moves
Yeah.
like a ninja through the woods.
Yeah.
So
So, and he must be what, 8 foot tall or close to it?
yeah,
right?
about 7.5.
7.5 foot tall. So anyway, so we go out that evening. We're like, let's go check this thing out. We have the Geiger counter because we've already encountered this weird spike in radiation at other sites. I'm like, let's take this with us. So I give it to a guy, and I'm like, if this thing goes above 35, call it out.
Mhm.
We're walking back out the path because it's getting late. And we weren't set up to do a full scale investigation. We just wanted to go out and just see if there was footprints, which we did find. Our phones start going, they're kind of dying at this point. And it's like, let's just get out of the woods. We don't have our lights, anything like that. Let's go. So we did. And as we're walking down the path, the comms make a weird sound. And at that exact point, the guy with the Geiger counter, it was Danner, who had the Geiger counter. He calls out 40. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And it just spiked really fast and went back down. And never really thought much. Like, that's weird. I think that's all we did. It's like, that's weird. These are dying. It's nothing. That was just a beep because these things are dying. And I don't know why the Geiger counter went off.
Except for on my end, I had the other end. Like I'm getting ridiculous noises coming through my end of the walkie.
Right.
Like it's just,
Well, that was when you were up on site. You said you were getting weird.
Well, I was when I was down there at that tree because
Yeah.
I tried going down. I made it to a big
Yep.
beech tree, and I was down there and I was trying to relay back to them saying I couldn't get down here,
Mm.
and I'm getting all this weird garbled like squawks coming across. Almost like it was almost like I had the two walkie-talkies, if you put them
Beside
face to
each
face
other.
and they start to scream,
Oh yeah.
I was getting that kind of interference, but we're 100 feet away from each other.
Yeah, it shouldn't happen. He's getting feedback type.
Is it like some
experience.
Sierra Sound stuff or?
No, this was across the walkie. No, we
Okay.
have had Sierra Sound type stuff before,
Uh-huh.
up at the farm.
Uh-huh.
And we tried to document that, but the cicadas, man,
Too
the
loud.
cicadas ruined the recording on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this
This green arrow, is it just basically noting like heat?
movement,
Is that basically a movement?
that
Okay.
green arrow, that ocular
It's like a focus thing. Like
sees a target.
Yeah. Sees it. Okay.
It's
It's
locked
tracking.
on, basically, is what happens. And that's also important because this was the defining moment this night. Because when we walk back out into the path, when we were doing our little
Yeah, this
pseudo
was the next
investigation.
night.
This is the next night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We walk back out onto the path.
I take the thermal.
He has the thermal now, and he's just like shooting around, getting us some B-roll because we're gonna make a little promo of Wild Weird Con. See how cool this thing
Yeah.
was. Let people see what they missed. Right?
Mhm.
So shooting some B-roll with the thermal.
Points it at the sky.
And I was like, you know what? I know what I'd seen in the past using thermal optics. I'm going to just look.
I'm watching because we have it tethered, so I'm
Mhm.
watching it on the phone at this point.
So I aim up, and within seconds, all of a sudden, here comes this target moving mock Jesus from horizon to horizon. And I watched this thing. I was like, dude, this, and I said, Ron, are you seeing this? And Ron's like, what is that? And watching this thing just go from horizon to horizon in about 4 seconds.
Do you have
And, we don't have that one with us, but we do have that footage over on our channel.
that? Oh, cool. Yeah.
Then we did have another one. There was this one that came in and it moved and it did this J hook maneuver where it doubled back on itself, again, moving at ridiculous speeds. And it's part of that same video. And it's moving at ridiculous speeds. And if you were to stop, right, G-forces, the science behind motion, at that speed, you would have just turned into like red goo on the wall,
Right.
right? And move in the opposite direction.
How would people find that video?
Go to our channel, Wild and Weird WV on YouTube, and it's, I think, UFOs over Logan. Or
Yeah, I think that's the
UFO
name of it.
investigation in Logan.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So
It's part of the investigation series.
it is.
We put it on there. There's a little series we started called Wild and Weird Investigations. And that's what kind of led into getting picked up for
Yeah.
Horizons. And we documented that on there. So it's a 3-part documentary, I think.
I
we
think
didn't
so,
get to see
yeah.
you fall down. We don't get to see you fall down
yeah,
the
we
hill.
didn't get to see me fall.
I got my
unfortunately.
Sunday evening
You're
planned. Thank you,
There we
fellas.
Now,
No.
which one you want to show them next?
What
Oh,
we got up there? Let's see.
We've got heat anomaly, IRORB.
We've watched the IR Orb, Bigfoot Walk, the WB COP.
Mega murder.
merger.
Okay, that one we have to show after another one.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
This one.
So that one comes after a
Gotcha.
What's that last one over there?
This is
That's the COP.
yeah. We watched.
So it would be it's witness clip 5.
Witness clip 5.
I'm not sure what that is.
Let's see what this is.
Oh,
Oh, these are
That's
the
Beth's clip.
yeah. These are actually the different types of. These are from different spots. Actually, these are. Some of these were from Wineberry, I think, and some were from Hedgesville.
Hedgesville. That's
Right.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we started noticing that there's this weird structure within these orbs, these COPs.
Yeah. It's a strange geometry.
And if you look at it, you'll see it. There's actually geometry here.
yeah.
Well,
Square.
about that time, we started hearing, yeah, that's what they're kind of confirming at these other places,
And Ryan Graves said that he had seen a square within a sphere.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. This little point right here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can also see it kind of continues over. You just don't see the point on the other side, but that same collar in the frame, you've got that almost white pinky collar on
Mhm.
the right hand side as well. That shows that there's that geometry does seem to continue. It's just that there's something around it.
Where was this from?
That's Wineberry.
That was at Wineberry.
That's Wineberry
Yeah.
too. Okay.
And then
got
the
And I
white
think the
one was
white
from
one
Hedgesville.
I believe.
Gotcha.
Because these were part of the presentation that we had to do at, what was it? We did that at this year. Can't remember which one it
It
was.
was UFO festival.
Yeah,
Appalachian.
That's it, right?
All right,
The one where the Men in Black came in and made sure we couldn't do our presentation.
Well,
hold on, what?
Basically, we got the we
Are these rent-a-cops or like the actual?
Nobody actually showed up.
Okay.
Our HDMI feed was cut.
Oh, okay.
Right as we were getting ready to show the video that you're going to show in a little bit. So if it happens,
who cuts your video? Who cuts your?
No, we don't know.
We don't know.
The promoter.
They couldn't get it back.
Couldn't even
at
get
all.
it back up.
For real, I'm not kidding.
That's what we're getting ready to watch.
Not yet. The next one do heat anomaly.
Heat anomaly.
This is a fun one.
So this one involves radiation. Watch the ground there below my feet.
Okay, let me hit repeat here. Okay, now where are you at here?
I'm the one in the middle.
Okay,
and Maria, Ron's wife, is to my left.
She's filming.
And we're talking about some stuff. We're doing an experiment. If you look off to Maria's left, up to the right, down. Okay, Maria.
Which one's Maria?
Maria's the one right there.
Okay.
So come down to about her waistline and then go to the left, right there.
Okay, got it.
There was a hot spot that we went out there to go and investigate, right? Because we were trying to figure out what it was. But now if you go back to me and go down to my knee and to the left to that black spot, that is a device called a REM pod.
Oh, okay, yeah. And the thing that looks like a soup can with the lights on top.
Yes, we put that out there to detect any kind of weird anomalies just to see. And so we're doing a control to just see if there's any kind of weird manipulation of energy. While we're doing this and this whole thing happens, the camera batteries die. They go from 80% to 0. The walkie-talkie that is turned off manually comes back on and starts making beeps, and Ron comes through.
We caught it all. And back at base, which we're, several hundred feet away from them, our equipment starts dying too.
Man, I always like, whatever. And then I had it happen to me in Salem.
It's something, isn't it?
And I was like, dude, I've done this for 12 years professionally. I know I put a new battery in that just now and hit record.
We never had it happen to this scale. This was every piece of equipment. Our thermals.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Our thermals were disconnecting from the source.
We had 2 cameras go down.
Both video cameras went down. A GoPro died. The Geiger counter was losing its mind. We had 2 thermals that kept disconnecting. Right. So it was so strange. But now if you hit play,
fire this bad boy up here. Hang on,
I found this in the morning when I'm scrubbing through the video doing editing.
I got a spike in the 46, I think is what it was.
I don't remember. It was high. I know that. But I was scrubbing through and I noticed when I'm going through, the ground is changing colors and it's
okay.
It's pulsing. And when I went back and looked at this, I was like, oh my gosh, this is when you guys were getting the radiation. And
what I go back to pick up was the walkie-talkie.
You see it swell.
Yeah, you see it swell. You see the wave come out.
Yeah. And for those listening, it's like, it's a thermal image, but you don't see any heat signatures. It's all black and white, but there's this area that becomes light. It's like I don't know, I'm gonna say like a UFO comes down and then, as it comes down, there's energy hitting the grass and it spreads out. That's what it looks like.
Well, that's an interesting analogy because we thought this has to be an anomaly with the equipment. There's something wrong with the equipment. Joe, get a hold of AGM.
I got a hold of the manufacturers.
Yeah.
They verified that it was not an equipment malfunction. And that what we were seeing was an actual recording of a thermal event on the ground. Now, this is going through high speed. This is being scrubbed through when Ron was editing, and he caught it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have noticed. But there does seem to be some kind of a thermal, I called it exhaust, coming down, like energy, some kind of residual energy coming down on top of us, because you can watch it in white hot. The areas that are becoming lighter are becoming warmer.
Yeah.
And you'll notice the background. This is not happening anywhere else.
Nope. It's isolated.
It's just right there.
And what's unique about this is we were getting that high gamma radiation reading in that location only. Ron on his device was background level.
I even told you, I think you'll hear me on the thing. I'm like, that's isolated. Whatever y'all are getting out there is completely isolated.
This is,
so we were getting hit with a dose of gamma radiation at this point and our equipment dies.
My point is,
I mean, you almost can see the grass.
Almost like it's moving.
You can almost see it bend.
you would never
little
know
bit.
this was happening
Yeah.
ever because it is so slow.
But then so you got it right here and then it.
Now, is this how crop circles are made? That's the
Man.
question you got to ask yourself.
So, yes. I'm going to say yes. Yes, aliens exist. This is how they're made. I mean, I don't see why not.
Right?
Why not? I mean, I'm following the data, boys.
That's what I mean. That's what we're right now. That's where we're at too. Following the data, looking at this is like, could this be the way that some of these formations on the ground are made? Was
Just
this what?
more concentrated?
Yeah.
Possibly.
There's a couple iterations of it.
Yeah,
You'll see it'll go.
moves. Yeah.
It'll go swell, and then it's
The
like
pulse.
a ripple of like a rock dropped in the water, and you see
Exactly what it is.
a wave, like a ripple right behind one right after another. It's like three of them.
Yeah, it's a wave.
Yeah.
It's weird, man.
I don't know.
I just know that I was exposed to gamma radiation, and I'm glad I already had my kids.
Yeah. Y'all found Chernobyl in West Virginia, apparently. I love this one.
I'll say something about that because people do kind of freak out when you talk about the radiation that we encounter, but it's always at a low level, and that's also a data set.
Low-ish. This was 4 points below the warning.
It's a data set because it seems like, look, we've seen it. It could do anything at this point. It doesn't. It keeps it right at the point to where it's like, that shouldn't be there. It's like you'll take notice of it.
Mm-hmm.
And once you take notice of it, usually it stops.
What would be like a dangerous level of radiation? So people
99 CPM, I would get out. The
warning
50.
The warning signal starts to beep at 50. You don't want to be in, basically what that's saying is you don't want to be in this area long. Then when you start getting into I think the R meters go off at 85 and 90, they start doing a double chirp. And then you hit 99 and it just stays on.
Okay, got
and
it.
That's the get out. So we're about halfway there at that point. And then another interesting note for this one is we were doing research that was actually in the location where the original Mothman sighting took place.
Oh, really?
Yep. That was right across
right across the street from the old power plant.
Yeah. We couldn't get there that night because they were having a motocross.
Yeah.
And then some other weird things happened.
But we had what we had, and the way we got there and found out exactly where it was at was because we had a first time filming experience with the witness, who was the guy that was originally told the story. Mm-hmm. Right after Roger and Linda got out of the car, they stopped and spoke with Roni. He was the first person to see him. Roni got with us and we took him out to do an investigation. He showed us exactly where it was at. And we'd been out there, we'd been close, but having him there to be like, this is it.
It was great because, this is one of those, we said toward the end of this, it was almost like something was writing this whole thing because there were so many weird little coincidences that happened all along the filming of this thing. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And Roni was one of those. Jeff, he comes to us and says, I got this guy who might be willing to talk to you. And Jeff down at the Mothman,
Jeff Walmsley.
Yeah, shout out to Jeff. I'm trying to get him in.
That's another hard
scheduling's tough. Yeah. One day.
Oh, he's awesome.
He's great.
He's a great guy. And so we go down there. He arranges it. We go down there, do our interview, and we're packing up at the end. We got it right. I mean, we just wanted his historical aspect of it. And he starts talking to us about how he's a big fan of Skinwalker Ranch. And he's like, wouldn't it be great if some guys went out there and did that stuff with this equipment we got today, like that? And I'm like,
well, that's what we're doing.
You want to do it? And he's like, what? And I
was like, yeah, we got the equipment.
I was like, would you mind looking at something? And we showed him some of our footage. And one of those footage is a microwave signal that literally led us through the woods. And we just wanted to get his word on this because
he was a microwave technician. That's what he did for a living.
So this all plays out just perfectly. Like you couldn't have wrote the city better. And he looks at it and he's like, well, something had to lead you.
He said the source of that microwave was right there.
Yeah, it was It was weird, man.
Man, that's fun.
So he joins us out there, and he gets to see it made his day, his life.
He said that was something that he had wanted to do his whole life, and being able to experience something like that was just over the moon for him.
Yeah.
And so it was really cool. And to be able to be a part of that goes back to what we originally set out to do.
Yeah.
Which was bringing that validation experience to people and giving him that experience to be able to go out and do the stuff that he had seen guys on TV do and wanted to do himself. Being able to experience that himself in person, conduct the experience and conduct the experiments himself.
He looked for Mothman for 2 years.
Yeah. And then got to go out and have this experience. There was a ton. You go watch the episode. There was a ton of other clips of footage that we collected that night.
Mm-hmm.
But that led us into the next direction, which would be the one that is titled This One.
This one. Yeah.
Not that
No,
one.
not that
Don't
one
do
yet.
that yet.
We got Heat Anomaly.
The merger.
Oh, the merger happened after this one.
Yeah, I know.
So canonic. Okay.
Yeah, I want to save the best for last on this one.
Okay.
So this happens.
Is there a way to do it in reverse?
Well, they're two different videos.
Okay, got it.
So the merger and this one, we'll start with the merger and then we'll do this one. But
all right.
This happened after the next video that you're going to see. But this is one of those Tic Tac objects.
Cool. And we got some audio. Is there anything we need to know before I hit play?
We are on location conducting experiments that John Kill had done in a location as close to the actual spot where he was standing as I could get us.
And you're going to get to see the first flashlight experiment and what happens.
And you will see what happens here with this subject. So we're filming. We had some stuff hit off first, and this happens about 10 minutes after that because this target that we're seeing right now, the camera instantly, this clip, he's already in frame. It had been in frame for 8 minutes already.
Nice.
So go ahead and
yeah. And this is about 2 minutes long. We're just gonna let the whole thing play.
It's moving at a pretty good clip at the moment. Oh,
hold on to it.
It's got the black. It's got the black ring around it, Ron.
I see it. I'm going to zoom in. Okay.
What? It's sitting still. Oh,
hold on to it, Joe. I'm just trying to get a shot. What in the world?
Oh,
that's a bird. Yeah.
I got excited too.
Look at that. That is an extremely cold ring around it.
Yeah.
Extremely cold. We've got.
Hey, I'm switching to a different mode.
I've got it. We're on it. Look at that.
What in the world?
It's moving.
All right, I want you to hold that, okay? Now you hold on. You hold that.
And look, there's a bird in the frame with it right now. Bird in the frame right now.
Oh yeah, see,
It's not a bird.
Just stay right there.
Okay.
On the bottom left.
Yep. Dude, this is the longest one we've held.
Right behind
3 minutes, 30 seconds.
Good job. It's over here now?
Yeah, it's over here now.
Right behind you.
So I grabbed the flashlight. All right, I got a flashlight. Ready? Here we go.
It stopped.
It says Chief
stopped.
Cornstalk area.
Did that?
It's standing still.
You confirm that?
Yep. Hit it again.
It is not moving. Object is static.
You getting this on camera? And just when we thought we'd seen everything, whatever this was, up the game.
There's a bird. That wasn't a bird.
Oh Lord.
What are they merging?
And that's not the best one?
Nope.
No. The one that is really, really cool. And we have, because of what it was recorded on, we have a lot of data for that specific object.
Mm-hmm.
But this happened after that.
Yeah, step through this.
So what we have happen here is you saw the clip where we had the bird come into range, right?
Let's see. Yeah.
The one back at the beginning, it came in, you could see it going across the bottom left. I think it was right after he switched it to pink.
It is.
Yep.
And
stop right here for a second, though. I want you to explain what we're seeing.
okay,
here.
so right here in this frame, what you're seeing is a extremely hot object in the middle, right? Because we're in white hot. So the hotter an object is, the brighter white it's going to show up on the sensor. The black ring is the exact opposite. It is ice cold in comparison to the center, and it's encapsulating.
Or the surrounding.
Mm-hmm.
It's encapsulating the entire object.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there has been a lot of research that's been conducted, and there's been stuff released by the government. And with some of these researchers, they seem to think that this field is some sort of gravitational manipulation, right? Now, we don't know what it is, but I'm just saying what some of these other folks are insinuating. But it would explain how some of these objects can be transmedium. Transmedium meaning that it can go from air into the water without causing an effect because it's manipulating and affecting its own gravity. It would also explain how it can come in to frame, moving mock Jesus and back across itself again without turning whatever is inside into, red liquid.
Gotcha.
Because whatever is inside would be
That's the
contained
bird.
within its own gravity.
There's the bird.
Yeah, there's a bird right there.
Right here. You can see the movement.
Yeah, you
Clearly.
can see the flapping. I think that's actually a big. Yeah, it's a bird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's flapping.
I forgot it was also like 38 degrees.
It's also important to know that this is only showing up on thermal.
Yeah, it is invisible to the naked eye. This can only be seen on thermal. It's also invisible to second and third generation night vision, which is also extremely important. So it's not emitting any light whatsoever.
That's the night vision.
So that gravitation. No, this is
thermal.
still in thermal.
This is
Still
thermal.
thermal.
This
We
is
just
just
switched the
multi-spectrum.
mode.
Gotcha.
Now the subject still has that dark ring around it because it's a high contrast to the center. But what that could also be doing is bending and warping light around it, which is why it's invisible to the naked eye and invisible to the infrared cameras.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just a heat signature. That's all that's being seen is heat.
We're going to assume that's an insect.
Yeah.
flying
Yeah,
through.
I think that's the insect coming up front. Gotcha.
But there's the bird. You can see it going underneath
Oh yeah, that
little
yep.
blip.
Yep,
And
I see it
that blinking is flapping of the wings
right here.
And it was pretty far off in the distance. This was relatively overhead. So then you have the second target come in, and I initially thought it might have been another bird until they collided. Now, subject A had been sitting there for, we filmed for 8.5 minutes. This thing had been sitting there for so long that then they come in and they merge. Look at that. They become one target. We don't know what to make of this. We've seen other footage of
Little
this.
kissy.
You're right.
Well, that's interesting because, that's one of the theories with the whole plasmoid discussion.
Yeah.
And that these things may be some form of life that we don't understand.
Right.
Like an actual living creature of some sort. And there's a lot of, there's a lot of research, a lot of data out there that kind of points toward that, but I don't know what that is.
And this is research being conducted by biologists and physicists at Harvard and Stanford. And this is what they're hypothesizing. But we have this where you see these two objects merge into one. And then when they split, this footage continues a little bit. They split and one of them rockets off almost like it was shot off with a rubber band.
Which episode's this? Someone who wants to watch the whole thing.
Let's see, that would be,
It's 9, right?
yeah, I think
9 or
it's
10.
9. It's,
Watch them all.
It's 10.
It's 10.
It's 10.
Yeah, watch them all. But this specifically is episode 10, Paranormal Horizons.
Love it. Oh, that's a good one. All right, and that sets up this
Here we
one,
go.
or this
Well,
one sets up.
That took place after this one. It's just that this clip is wild.
We're going to talk about it for a while.
This
Okay.
clip
There's
is
a lot of data here.
intense.
Okay, is there audio here? No audio here. All right, what are we looking at before I
Right.
hit play here?
So what you're seeing is the research reel that I made from this to actually show to Stan Gordon before we did anything else with it. Stan looked at it and said, "You've got to release this because again, we're one of those who's like, man, I want to save this for Paranormal Horizons, and he's like, no, you need to get this out now. We need other researchers to see this. And so we did. And what you're going to see, this is all shot on psionics. This is a night vision. Okay?
Third generation night vision.
Third generation
optics.
night vision. So it can see, boy, can it see near moonless conditions. Okay. So this thing doesn't need hardly any light at all. And he has a thermal at the time. And Steve has a second generation.
Because this is all setting up around what you just watched.
Mhm.
Those clips where you saw all three of us kind of huddled around moving, that was where we were.
Everyone
at.
rolled in and was like, hey, fellas.
So Steve is running a second generation night vision camera, monocular set.
Yep.
And Ron has the psionics. I have a thermal.
I just happened to go over and grab. If you watch the episode, you'll see this in real time. I grab the psionics and I turn it on. You'll hear it come on. You'll see me point it up the sky. And it's probably no more than 20 seconds till this starts.
Yeah, 20, 30 seconds. something like
Yeah,
that.
this is literally what happens.
Let's see here.
Now, what you're seeing there, those 3 dots, those are stars. And then you
Okay.
got another 3 dots there.
Ursa Major there. Yeah.
Okay.
That marks what
That's
we
a
think is
satellite?
It's a little
Okay.
satellite moving off that way by the star.
So we're looking at a night.
Right here.
Oh, okay.
coming in hot.
Now, I'm the only one seeing this.
Because this was invisible on thermal. It had no heat signature whatsoever. And it was emitting light at a higher frequency than the second generation night vision was capable of seeing. But watch the color shift. See that purple shift?
Ooh. Where'd it go? Is it
It's
gone?
It's gone.
It's like Star Trek warp drive.
Yeah, it really is.
What you scrub through just frame by frame as you can, and
You'll see the color change.
the color change. And then it gets pinpoint and darts off. So right there, it's still orange.
And then it's boom. Wow.
So you see that big swell of purple. It's that violet.
There it
that
is
shows
right
up.
there. So it's there and then it's hang on, no, that was a star, I think. I thought I saw it leave, but
Right there. That's when it gets the smallest, right there.
That's the smallest.
So that
yeah.
we think is when it is out of here.
Or shifting,
Yeah.
possibly. We don't know. Either way, it's gone.
Yeah. Kit Green did some research on blue shift phenomena, is what he coined it. And if
It's a Hal put off.
Hal Putoff worked with him, and they came up with this idea because the blue shift, essentially when it changes from that orange to blue, puts off an extremely high level of radiation if you're in close proximity. We luckily were not. But yeah, just watch that thing go.
interesting.
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You saw a UFO, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. What's really amazing about this clip is, like Stan said, we got to get this out. We got to let people see this. So we did. We released it. I think 1,200 people have seen it, if that.
Yeah, because it's not sensational.
It's not sensational.
It's not
this is
fake.
real. It's legit. And that's just not interesting enough to make any kind of,
But we've
It's not
had
going
other
viral.
people. We've had serious researchers
yeah.
look at this who are extremely well known, people that you would know from TV if you saw them. They've seen this footage and they've claimed that it was the best that they've ever seen, or it rivals the best
It's
that
some
they've
of the
seen. Is
best,
what the other
yeah.
one said.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what we're looking at here is something that comes in. It seemingly realizes that we have a bead on it, and then
It's like
leaves.
Ron from Wild and Weird's going to shoot me down. I got to get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but I do
That's
know that
crazy.
after this happened, that's when I got the idea, well, get the flashlight. Let's start that experiment. And then you saw what happened there. That was with the merger, which we
And-
watched previously.
and
Yeah.
we used data.
So that happened right after this.
Yeah.
Minutes.
Minute, like within I think two and a half, 3 minutes, something like
I don't
that.
know. It was a bit.
So we had
And then the satellite you mark is this one moving right here.
little tiny light right there below that star. You can see it moving.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, that little guy.
Gotcha. Show everybody.
and
where
it
I'm
follows a planned trajectory too.
That is a satellite, 100%.
at. Yeah.
However,
we use satellite tracking software in the field,
Mhm.
so that way we know when there's something above us, and we can ID it on the fly. And this target comes in, does a U-turn over our head, and takes straight off. Now,
one of the most ludicrous explanations that we got for it was that it was a geosynchronous satellite. And I'm like, okay, well, we should see those. But I've never seen anything like that. No one else has. And that's just not how that works.
Have you saw Starlink?
oh yeah,
That's bananas.
it's
Multiple
nuts,
times, yeah.
Yeah, it's so cool.
and
It
it
is
gives you a
cool.
weird feeling every time you see it.
Yeah, it's like,
You know?
whoa, we are very small.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's true, right?
Yeah.
And the some of the data though that we got from this clip was
Mhm.
critical. It was invisible on second generation night vision. So it was the light that was being emitted was above the frequency of light that second generation can see. And it was at the top of the threshold for what third generation could see, which is around 950 nanometers
Hmm.
or 1100 nanometers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
it's,
can
1100 nanometers.
Yeah. You can only see from 350 to 750. That's
Yeah.
typical human eyesight.
And the
So
second
second gen-
generation goes from 750 up
No.
into 9.
950, something like that.
And then third generation covers you up to 1100 nanometers. So what we know is that this thing was above 900 nanometers. The frequency of light was above 900 or below 900. And my words are getting crossed up here. Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
So
I mean, this is a lot. Y'all
This-
y'all made contact.
essentially,
you know,
Yeah,
that was the
I'll
name
declare
of-
it here.
That was the name of the episode.
That was the name of
the
the
last
episode, yeah.
episode.
Contact.
So with this target, it came in and it was above 950, which is the limits of the second generation night vision.
Mhm.
And it was below for a moment, below 1100. So we know it was in that bandwidth of frequency. We know that that's right around where it was at. And then it phases out.
Mhm.
It goes back above that frequency is option A. Option B is that shift was some kind of a propulsion system and it fired it off into the, God knows where.
That's awesome. Did you get an adrenaline rush? Like, oh,
Oh, I was,
I've been waiting years. Finally.
it was something. I
Yeah.
mean, we don't typically overreact when we get these things.
Which is
but
why a
I
lot
can
of the
see
footage
that. I'm out
doesn't
there
blow
doing
up.
cartwheels like, dude.
But that's why our footage doesn't normally blow up.
Sure, yeah.
We collect it and we're programmed in our heads now. We've been
this
doing
was
it so
the
long.
holy shoot moment, right?
No, that was the purple one.
Was that the purple one? I don't remember.
The
They're like, why
I
would
love
you
y'all
say
have these
that?
all categorized. Like, no, that wasn't no. That was the purple.
it's everybody laughed about it on YouTube. They're like, holy shoot. We're trying to make a PG 13.
Sure.
I know I've got to edit this.
That's great.
Yeah.
I've got to edit this. And I've seen so many clips of people with video. They can't show it. You can't get the audio because everyone's,
Yeah. Cussing and
left and
carrying
right.
on.
Yeah. I'm
And-
glad you said that. I'm trying to do that with this show too. I beep everything and
Well, we
know.
have a huge following of kids
sure.
because we do a lot with schools.
Mhm.
And we have a bunch of kids that watch our stuff. We want them to be able to watch our stuff with their parents in the room and then be like, why are you following these people if you're out there using all kinds of God knows what language?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, parents, if you say the F word to your kid and y'all are like, F this and that, whatever, no judgments. But I'm kind of judging you. So I'm gonna beep the cuss words.
Well, you've got a lot of families that don't appreciate that and they don't want their kids hearing it.
Right.
And, so we started kind of tailoring around that.
Yeah, and everyone's okay with no cussing. I mean, I don't
Right.
think there's anyone that's like, man, I really wish there was more cussing on this show.
We needed a few more F-bombs
yeah,
here.
yeah. That's great though.
But yeah, so we know what this was in, and we also used MEDAR data, which is the cloud data that's taken at airports, for
Mhm.
example. They're one of the ones that really use it because it's needed for flight. And we were able to calculate speed, distance, and rough elevation on this thing. And after the point when the blue light, using map systems and how to chart things, you're talking over 8,000 miles an hour after that blue light kicks off. And because it's just a brief second that is there after that blue light.
Mhm.
Now, once it's moving from point A to point B, again, we know where we're at geophysically. So I'm able to chart roughly where the map was. I know the distance on visibility for the horizon. So charting for the horizon at its altitude, which was below 3,000 feet, because you can see that there's some sparse clouds here and there, that misty cloud that you can kind of see, that is calculated in the MEDAR data.
Mm-hmm.
And those were being precision calculated at, I think it was like 3,080 feet. So this
is it, right?
Right.
Okay, so you go orange, blue, and the distance it goes just in one frame. So I'm using this star as a point of So doink, just in one frame, and the camera shakes, and then it's
gone.
Yeah, it's gone. That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a UFO.
Yep,
that's all I can say about it.
I mean, yeah, that's
this is some of our favorite footage.
That's great,
and that's why Ron was wanting to save it there to last.
Man, yeah, that's great.
It's awesome.
Great call, Ron. I love it. Before y'all leave, I do want to give a 101. Someone out there, what gear do we need specifically? What's it called? Where can you buy it? What does it do? If you wouldn't mind, give me a rundown.
We have an in-depth video if you want to check that out, where we talk about our loadout.
Watched it this morning. It was great.
And we talk about some necessities and we talk about some niceties, right, in that video. So one of the things that are critical that you want to have with you based off of our experience and what we've been doing is carry a pocket dosimeter, which is your Geiger counter. We use the GQ 300, 500, and 300S and the 500 plus. And we've got Adam has the other one.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that.
I can't remember the exact, but they're all made by the same people.
Yeah.
They're all made by GQ and they're phenomenal.
Is all this in the bin? Is that what's in the bin?
No. Those were track casts.
Oh, cool. Okay.
We didn't pack those out. We'll get you out in the field and we'll do a loadout demo there with you.
Yeah, no, that's good. Okay.
But then the pocket dosimeter, and we get those off Amazon, or you can order them from GQ Electronics.
Okay.
Then you've got the next piece of equipment that you're going to want to have is something kind of a tri-field. And order your tri-field meter off of Amazon. Expect to pay around $200 for a decent one.
Yeah, tri-fields are good. Now, GQ, they make a good tri-field too.
They really do.
Again, we don't get any sponsorship from these people. I just want to make that clear.
We just got permission to post their stuff and to use their logos and stuff.
We get no kickback from that whatsoever.
None.
It's just, I'm going to call good equipment when it's good equipment. And it is.
And it's durable too.
It's durable. We use it out in the field. But I mean, we're out there in the evening. It gets dewy out there. Okay. Mm-hmm. It gets really wet.
Sure.
So you got to have stuff that ain't going to mess up, and it does a good job. But they make a decent little tri-field as well. I can't remember the exact model number of it, but it's pretty good.
If you just look at the GQ tri-field meter,
it's good enough to do what you need to do, or you can go get a TM, whatever. I forget what the number it is, but it's the digital version of the tri-field meter.
Yeah.
Why I say tri-field is because it's going to give you so much more than just a regular EMF meter. Okay. Yep. EMF meter is just going to measure in gauss, milligauss. That's all it's going to measure in. Okay. Which is just a fancy little term for micro Tesla and how we measure the distortion wave of energy.
Mm-hmm.
So what you've got going on here with this one is you've got microwave detection. You've got a sort of a spectrum analyzer function built into that GQ, which is kind of neat. It helps you kind of
isolate what the target is. It can tell you if it's a cell phone. It can tell you if it's a handheld radio. They have pre-programmed settings in there for what frequency certain things are using. So it'll tell you an estimation of what type of equipment you're getting. And that's the nicety on the GQ. You're not going to get that on the I think it's the T185.
I don't remember that.
But that's just going to be a standard EMF. Then it'll detect microwave and it will detect radio frequency.
Heck yeah. Do you got them old Texas Instrument calculators we used back in middle school? So those kind of obsolete.
Probably still have some of them laying around somewhere.
I have one of those laying around.
Gotcha. Those are is there any other beneficial ones that you find, or like the niceties you was talking about?
Get you a thermal.
The niceties, get you a thermal. We highly recommend AGM because of the affordability for the technology. They are They're not a big wide name brand. And you know as well as we do, a lot of this stuff you're buying name brand and you're paying for the name. Like a FLIR, you're paying for the name. The sensor is what you need. The AGM has the same, if not better, sensor for the same price bracket.
Mm-hmm.
And in our case, we got a sensor that was 2 steps above the price bracket, according to the FLIR.
Yeah.
And what sensor they had was in the $3,000 to $5,000 market, and we got into it for $1,200.
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
I need Joe to consult for me. He walks in the studio and he's like, dude, put down the Pelicans, start looking at Apaches,
Yeah.
the cases.
man.
So I'm definitely going to check that out. Awesome.
Then the Psionics for
Yeah.
night vision. Highly
Mhm.
recommend that. It's full color, 3rd generation night vision. If you want to get a 2nd generation, just like how we're doing, where we can use it to kind of get a measurement on the frequency of light, that's great.
Good
If you
place to
can,
start.
if you can do that. But if you just want to snag one, $400 will get you a decent one. It'll get you a good one with a emitter, like a really nice handheld emitter to help you out.
Heck yeah. And when you get all this stuff, UFOs just start popping up.
They do, man. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what happens.
That's
You get
basically what
those,
happens.
and it's like bait.
It's like golf. I'm like, the more expensive of a putter I get, the more putts I'll land, and it never works.
Obvious.
Ever. Yeah. Awesome. I do. Let's go through can we show
Oh,
what's in the
yeah.
bin?
Yeah, man.
We got to do that before we leave.
I've got some of them pulled out here on the side. To show you.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Go ahead.
I can get those for you. Do you want me to just put them? I'll hand them to you because
Sure. Yeah. I'll handle with care. I'll
No,
move these books
it's
here.
okay. I've got copies of most of this stuff, but these are the originals.
Sweet. And these are stuff you all poured and found.
Yep.
Okay. Good deal.
Now, the first one here.
We got, okay. All right. And I'll show them and you on the camera, you can talk about them.
That was
Oh, you didn't break, I didn't break it here, did I?
no.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
So, but what this is you have obviously the heel here. You've got the mid tarsal here in the middle of the foot, where you see that is kind of depressed down.
Mm-hmm.
In the ground, that's hooved up. You're looking at a negative, essentially, right? This is a negative impression. And then you've got your toes. You can kind of see where the toes are here. This is really what you're looking at a lot of the time in the forests in Appalachia throughout the entire mountain range.
Love it.
So you're not getting a whole lot of detail. But then
Love it. I'll show the peeps here. So we got this. It's in 2 pieces. So we got this bad boy, and then this goes very carefully. I mean, what else could that be? It's the exact shape. Okay.
there's this one.
Okay.
And you're looking, obviously, this is not a big foot, right? That's a small foot.
This is a small foot. Okay.
And
Oh, I see how it's formed there for the people. So right here's the heel, I guess.
Yep.
And then up here.
yeah, that area is your heel, and then you got your mid tarsal in the middle, where it's again depressed down from what you're looking at, but it hooves up. Then you've got the ball of the foot. You can see that it's going to be on just above you right there, and the big toe is just above it. Now, what made that foot really impressive is that if you look at you can see the individual toes
Mm-hmm.
when you shine light across it, and you can feel them. But 2 of the toes, particularly the middle toes, they start off in one position, and then they individually, you can see a drag line where they curled in independently from the rest of the foot
Right.
and made a little bit weird mark, but it was because they almost gripped the ground.
I love that.
What's crazy is a lot of people think that, when you're talking about, tracks, that it's just literally like someone steps down. It's like it's an organic form. It's not. There's movement. And that's what, everybody looks for. We look for the, like you said, the displacement of the materials.
Okay. Where do you find these, dude?
A lot of the times, the vast majority of our tracks I found when I was out conducting research on my own,
Mhm.
like when I was just out in the field, deep in the woods or around certain areas that I was working in.
Right.
Because I worked in the forest for a long time.
You said you was a naturalist?
Yes.
What is that?
I was a master naturalist. So I worked with the DNR. I helped with programs that were public related.
Mm-hmm.
But that you've got in your hand, there's a left and right. And those are really nice and clean. And what you can see,
I mean, yeah.
what you can see there is it's not that big of a foot, but look how wide.
Yeah.
Look at the width in the middle of the foot there.
I don't know. My grandpa gets gout. It's kind of
Right. Well, we had talked about that because those are things you do have to take into consideration.
right.
There are anomalies where people have disorders that can cause feet to change their morphology, right? But if you look at that other track, specifically in the middle of it,
Mm-hmm.
it exhibits the exact same traits as what we're seeing in the Patterson-Gimlin trackway and in many other trackways where you have a mid-tarsal break. Human feet, normal human feet, don't have that break. Now, the big toe is in that raccoon footprint right there. That's the big toe, and then a raccoon stepped into it.
Mm.
And then that second toe in is the second toe. Look how wide the second toe is.
that's bigger than my big toe.
Yeah.
But now here's the crazy part. The pinky, count the toes down. The pinky toe is just barely right there. Yeah. Now put your fingers from the pinky toe to the big toe and look at the span.
I mean, that's a big foot.
It's a pretty wide span, right?
Right.
From the pinky toe to the big toe.
Yeah.
You know, your foot does not exhibit that.
Yeah.
Even when it's going through mud, our toes don't splay that far.
Sure.
Now so that one is one of my favorites just because it has that mid-tarsal flexion. And what causes that material in the middle to get upheaved is that there is a break, allegedly,
Mm-hmm.
in the foot for these Bigfoot or Sasquatch, whatever you're going to call them, that when their foot bends kind of like our hand. So when they step up off the ground, it bends like this and then leaves. And that movement right here in sand causes an upheaval, and it causes the sand that's here to push back,
Mm.
right? And it creates that big
Wow.
wave in the middle.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then this is the Wineberry track that we got.
Wineberry. Shout out to Wineberry. If you're listening and you're the owner of Wineberry, holler at your boy.
Oh, we can definitely get you.
Okay. That'd be awesome.
So now this one, that broke coming out of the mold.
Oh, wow.
I made a cast. This is what I'm going to bring you a copy of.
Okay.
That's the big toe.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'll do this on the widescreen up there.
This was the first big.
The first massive track. that we
Yeah.
found.
So you'll see on this widescreen here,
came
this
across.
whole, where's the heel start? Like
Right there.
Right here.
Mhm.
Yep.
And then big toe here.
Yeah, and we lost the ball of the foot there. You can see there's a space that's
Right
missing.
here.
No, over where your thumb was just over.
Right here.
No, up. Like think where the big toe is.
Oh,
And
right
there's that
here.
void.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's the
yeah.
ball of the foot.
Yeah.
For what a normal human would be, where we call the ball of the foot. So we just use that terminology.
Mm-hmm.
There was a big tuft of grass that was coming up. This was in a field where a trailer had been moved. And so it was a bunch of mud and hay. And we found several other tracks in the area, but we only had enough plaster to cast one. But we documented them.
Mhm.
And you're looking at a very, very sizable footprint.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
This thing's huge.
Well, look at the length to width. And that's what you want to look at in a lot of these
Yep.
casts. You know, a lot of people are like, oh, that's just a human foot. Okay, no, because you got to look at the length to width. You don't look at just the length in any of these things.
Yeah, that's massive.
Yeah, we're dealing with something here that was 14 and a half inches long and 8.5 inches wide. Or 8 inches wide, sorry.
Man, this is
And we
so
found
fun.
multiple
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So
Multiple in the same
Yep.
area?
Yes.
same
Okay.
area of possibly the same creature.
Now these right here, this set right here, we're not unconvinced that the one that I showed you before that was the same animal a year apart
Gotcha. Okay.
because they were found in the same area.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we also have track casts of the first one that we showed you, another track that was cast 4.5 years later in the exact same area.
Oh, really? So it's growing up. What are they eating?
That one is the same size.
Right.
So that's why we think it's like the morphology of the foot, the placement of all the structure, it all looks the same. So we think it's the same one. Cliff Barrickman also, Cliff Barrickman and Tom Shea were the two that took a look at those specific casts and was like, I think these are the same ones, man. Where'd you get these? And it was without me even saying where they were from. And so when I told him where they were at, it was like, oh yeah, there was like 150 yards difference or a half mile difference.
Yeah.
In one of them.
Dude, that's awesome.
So it was pretty fun, man. And again, like I said, the majority of these that I pulled out, there were ones that I found when I was out working in the woods and would come across them. And I just always had the material in my backpack because I'm working in the woods. I'm basically getting paid to do Bigfoot research because I'm out there all the time doing this anyway.
Yeah.
Now I no longer work with that situation, but I'm conducting classes and I'm out there in the woods. I have to go out and collect samples on stuff. So might as well pay attention to everything if I'm out there.
That's beautiful. Most people don't forget the vape. You don't forget the plaster of Paris.
That's right, man.
Yeah, that's how it is. That's awesome.
Or the Geiger counter.
Or the Geiger counter.
Or the Geiger counter. Yeah. For me, it's orange juice and my insulin. So yeah, if I forget that, it's a bad day. Well, wrapping up here, let people know. Like, let's talk about what's going on, where they can find you. Anything that you got working that's coming out.
Right on. Well,
yeah.
we are going to be at there's a Bigfoot event on August 9th down at Twin Falls.
Oh, sweet.
We're going to be
there.
there. Yeah. See, that's what we're worried about. Like, she gets a big local gathering down there, but West Virginia tourism, this goes out to you. Get on the ball, promote your state parks stuff. Okay?
Dude, they take away the paranormal trails until the fall. Let's fix that.
So there's a Bigfoot event on August 9th. That's my birthday. And we're going to be at Twin Falls helping with it. That's going to be the next event. Ron's got an event that he'll be at Kecksburg, Pennsylvania. You can go meet him at Kecksburg. I won't be able to make that one. It's my kid's birthday. And then we've got Mothman Festival, of course.
Get your priorities together, Joe. What are we thinking?
I know,
I'm
right?
kidding. Yeah,
right?
We love our families, y'all.
And so Mothman Festival is the next big event that we're going to be at. Definitely come hang out with us there. It's a blast. If you've never been, you got to go.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a monster event. I mean,
Yeah. It's a necessity. It's
no pun intended. It is a monster event.
Thousands and thousands.
Oh yeah,
man,
it's great. There's nothing like it in the state, man.
We love it. I mean, it's just one of our favorite ones.
It's been our home since 2018, and it's just we love it.
We do a lot for those people.
Yeah, we do.
They do a lot for us.
They do a lot for us as well.
Yeah.
So stuff we have, that's events. That's live events in person where you can catch us. We also have quarterly meetings that are free to the folks that attend and help us out with our weekly lives. It's the West Virginia High Strangeness Collective meeting, quarterly meeting. We just had one 2 weeks ago. Everybody comes together. They share their data. We created a community where you can come together and share your data, something that didn't exist when we got started.
Yeah.
No, really. And there's no arguments.
No.
And everybody gets to eat. And man, is there so much food.
Yeah, some kind of chef makes the food.
Some chef. I don't know.
That's fun.
Works out great though. And we have people who actually share data. They
and
get
they're
up
free.
there and they're free. We wanted to do something for the community. And
did we mention free?
They're free. And they're actually funded by our members, like you said, over on Wild and Weird WV on our YouTube channel. There's people who donate the super chats and the stickers. That's where it goes. So we give it back to them. And man, we gave away some really cool prizes, didn't we?
We gave away a 4K action cam. We gave away a dosimeter, a pocket dosimeter this round too. So we give away hardware. We give away research gear to get people out in the field doing their thing. And it's all funded by who we call the executive producers of Wild and Weird Radio. And it's a ball. We have an absolute blast with it. The next one's coming up in October.
Stay tuned.
But if you want to catch us and stay up to schedule with us on a weekly basis, every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, we are live. And it is 100% directed by the audience. We start off with a loose topic on where we're going to go. And then,
sometimes we'll stay there.
Yeah, so if
Rarely.
the audience wants.
Rarely. They usually drag us off into, talking about pancakes. I don't know. It happens. I mean,
Natural, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
naturally.
whatever's important at the time.
Right.
Donuts, pancakes, owls.
Owls mostly.
Owls.
And so it follows that vein. Whichever direction the audience wants to go, we let it ride and we go with it. We have a blast with it. And we have a great community. Again, no fighting over there. We don't have I run around with a really heavy band hammer, so all the bots are getting smashed as soon as they hit the chat.
Yep. We don't do politics. We don't do
Nope. Very rarely even touch on spirituality and religion, just because of
unless it's in data.
Tough,
Unless it's part of the data, we don't talk about that. We don't need to. There's no reason. And it's a really fun time for everybody who's involved. Again, it's kid friendly. Everybody can watch it. And aside from that, we're actively back out in the field doing our own thing. We don't have a time limit or no schedule this time,
which is the beautiful thing.
We can get out there and take as much time as we want. And man, do we have some cool experiments.
We really do. We've got some new equipment that, the doing the work for Paranormal Horizons has given us the ability to get. And we're excited to do some experiments down here in Wineberry yet again, here in the very, very near future with all of this new gear that we've got. And we are still continuing the same research that we did with Paranormal Horizons. It's just going to be released under Wild and Weird WV's channel this time, just like it was before. And just so trying to get everybody to come check it out and hang out with us. And, if you've had a sighting or any kind of strange thing that you've witnessed yourself, you can get a hold of us. We're very reachable. You can find us at wildandweirdwv.com. Just hit the report a sighting link, fill out the form that we've got made up. It's going to send an email over to us, and one of us will be in touch with you fairly quickly. If you are within driving range or within research range and the account is fresh enough. When I say fresh enough, I'm talking about something that's not a cold case, something that just recently happened. We'll do our best to get out there within the next 24 to 48 hours to see what kind of hard data that we can get. Again, that's wildandweirdwv.com, report a sighting. Click that link, fill out the form, send it in. Otherwise, jump in with us over at Wild and Weird Radio on Wild and Weird WV's channel on YouTube. We'd love to see as many of you guys come over and join us as possible. And we really appreciate the fact that, your audience is going to be taking some time for us here.
Oh yeah.
And hopefully enjoying the show.
Oh, we love this stuff. I love y'all. You got to come back in soon.
Say when, man.
We need to get you out in the field.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do it. So me and Adria Johnson, she's a paranormal expert up Parkersburg area. She moved to Huntington, but we're starting to do on location stuff. Scheduling's just hard.
Yeah,
but yeah, we're gonna get out. I'd love to venture out with y'all.
Well, we've got two locations in mind that we could take you to.
Okay.
And you just say when, man.
Yes. Okay. Well, it may be a fall thing. Would that be good?
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Perfect.
Yeah,
You're not dealing with swamp, butt, and all this heat right now.
We'll go out and record and have fun and come back and talk about it. So
yeah.
Well, I mean, Steve went out, and if you watch that episode, you'll see Steve, and he says, I'm usually the guy who, kind of stops this stuff. Like nothing happens when I'm here. I've only
almost
seen,
like he was reverse
I've
polarity.
never seen anything like this before. He's being truthful. He had not seen anything like that until we took him out in the field.
And he had been investigating for 50 plus years.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, I've got about 50 plus minutes. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I appreciate y'all, and I'll go ahead and let everyone else know. While you're here, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to Creepalachia if you haven't already, and check us out on Facebook and TikTok. And we do have merch now at creepalachia.shop. And, that's about it. UFOs exist. We've proven it right here in these 3 hours. Appreciate everyone, especially you, Ron and Joe. I'm glad to have met y'all in person now. And everyone else, always remember, above all else, long live Appalachia.